Chapter 562. SS Thunder Dragon Wings. The blood-armored being hurriedly made a hand seal to open up the passage to the 9th level. He nodded and bowed to Zhuowen and Xiaohei. Please take care. Zhuowen nodded and ignored the blood-armored creature. Just as he was about to leave, he caught a glimpse of the center of the cave from the corner of his eyes. He was stunned. Wait! The smile on the blood-armored being's face froze. He could not help but wail in his heart. What's wrong with this guy? If he wants to leave, then leave quickly. Why did he suddenly stop? My heart is about to jump out of my chest. Even though the crimson-armored creature was grumbling to himself, he still put on a warm and fawning smile as he said, "Please feel free to tell me what you need, and I'll do my best to accomplish it for you." Zhuowen did not care about the blood-armored being who was trying to curry favor with him. He took a step forward and arrived at the huge bed of bones in the center of the open space. His right hand shone with a golden light as he slammed it down. Instantly, the huge bed of bones shattered into pieces. The smile on the blood-armored being's face froze again. His eyelids twitched when he saw the bed of bones that had been turned into pieces. He almost cursed out loud, but when he saw the bronze coffin on Zhuowen's body, he held himself back in the end. He knew that if he really cursed out loud, the harmless-looking kid in front of him would definitely be the first to kill him. Hence, he cleverly remained silent. However, he was wailing in his heart. Where am I going to sleep in the future? Zhuowen waved his right hand, and a black shadow was sucked into his palm. At a glance, it was just an unremarkable piece of black iron. It looked very ordinary. Could it be? At this moment, Xiaohei, who was on his shoulder, seemed to have noticed the uniqueness of the metal block. She could not help but exclaim, "I can't be sure yet. Let me check it with my mental strength." Calming down the excitement in his heart, Zhuowen's mental energy from his Naiwen palace slowly entered the metal block. After a while, Zhuowen slowly opened his eyes, which were filled with joy. As expected, it was one of the 6 wings of wind and lightning. Moreover, it was the 3rd wing of the lightning wings, the lightning dragon wing. I really didn't expect that Zhuowen would actually obtain the lightning wing's 3rd wing in this place. Looks like fate really makes fools of people. Zhuowen could not help saying excitedly. At this moment, Xiaohei was also filled with excitement. The more complete the 6 wings of wind and lightning were, the more beneficial it would be to the recovery of its origin energy. Compared to Zhuowen, it wanted Zhuowen to obtain a treasure like the Saint Talisman the most. "Hey, how did you get this piece of metal? Do you have any more of this kind of iron?" After coming back to her senses, Xiaohei hurriedly pointed at the crimson-armored creature not far away. She had no idea why Zhuowen and Xiaohei were laughing. Seeing that it was her, the crimson-armored creature hurriedly smiled and glanced at the piece of metal. This little one obtained it from a human cultivator who challenged the blood demon inheritance. "This is the only piece I have." After taking a closer look at the crimson-armored creature and confirming that it was not lying, Xiaohei sent it away and said regretfully, "Looks like this guy only has 1 piece of metal in his cave. What a pity. It's already good enough to obtain 1 piece. It's better than nothing." Moreover, the 6 wings of wind and lightning were scattered tens of thousands of years ago. Being able to find 1 piece is already pretty good luck. I've already found 3 pieces. Perhaps in the future, when the time comes, I might be able to obtain the remaining 3 pieces. Zhuowen shook his head. Hearing this, Xiaohei nodded in a serious manner. Looks like this dragon lord was a little too greedy. The thunder dragon wings should be the strongest of the thunder wings. If you cultivate it, I'm afraid that there won't be any cultivators in the Ultimate Emperor realm who can catch up to you. Your speed will be unimaginably fast. A fiery heat surfaced in Zhuowen's eyes when he heard these words. If he was able to completely master this lightning dragon wings, even an expert like Su Chang would not be able to kill him easily if he wanted to escape. Since this matter is settled, let's go. After he found the thunder dragon wings, Zhuowen's mood was rather good. Thus, he directly withdrew the Blood Fiend command token from his Cosmos pouch and formed a seal. The Blood Fiend command token instantly emitted a blood-red glow that enveloped Zhuowen into a blood-red cocoon. There was a teleportation array within the Blood Demon token. This teleportation array was still in an inactive state. Only by reaching the 8th stage of the Blood Demon Inheritance Land and passing through the passage of the 8th stage could the teleportation array be fully activated. Only then could Zhuowen rely on the Blood Demon token to teleport directly to the core area. Swoosh! As soon as the blood cocoon was formed, it immediately flew toward the entrance of the bloody vortex and disappeared in the blink of an eye. Just now, could it be the Blood Demon token? At this moment, the blood-armored being was completely dumbfounded. He had already recognized the Blood Demon token when Zhuowen took it out, but he wasn't sure. However, now that he had seen Zhuo Wenhua disappear into the blood-red vortex in the form of a blood cocoon, he was 100% sure that it was the Blood Devil token. The Blood Demon token is a waste token refined by Lord Blood Demon. How could it appear on a human warrior? Did Lord Blood Demon give it to this human? The blood-armored being frowned. He felt that Zhuowen was even more mysterious. First, he had the bronze coffin that was extremely effective against him. Now, he even took out something as rare as the Blood Demon token, Rumble. This was a boundless sea of blood. In the middle of the sea of blood, there was a lone island standing alone. The lone island was tens of thousands of miles wide. The sky above it was filled with a misty bloody aura that blocked one's line of sight, making it impossible to see what was on the island. Suddenly, a crack appeared in the sky above the dense bloody aura. From the crack, a blood cocoon that was as tall as a person suddenly flew out and quietly floated above the bloody aura. It was as if a person was silently sizing up the lone island below. Zhuowen stood silently in the blood cocoon. Although it was impossible to see what was inside from the outside, Zhuowen, who was in the blood cocoon, could see everything outside at a glance. Below should be the core area of the Blood Devil's inheritance ground. I really didn't expect there to be such a lone island in this endless sea of blood. It's really quite strange, Zhuowen muttered as he looked down at the lone island from the blood cocoon. Boy, you'd better be careful. I can sense an extremely terrifying existence on this lone island. That existence should be the soul of the blood demon, Xiao He said with a grave expression. Hearing this, Zhuowen nodded cautiously. Soon after, he controlled the blood cocoon to slowly descend. In fact, he was rather looking forward to seeing the Lu Hantian that the blood-armored being had mentioned. If Lu Hantian was really not dead, with his terrifying talent, he would definitely be extremely powerful. At the very least, he would be much more powerful than Lu Nantian. However, if even such a person could not leave the Blood Demon's inheritance land, wouldn't it be even more impossible for him to leave? Thinking of this, Yun frowned and his expression became slightly ugly. He did not want to stay in this damned place for the rest of his life. You don't have to worry. You're the first person to reach the peak of Zhongling Mountain. The owner of the bronze coffin probably didn't send you here to harm you. Didn't you see how the bronze coffin suppressed the ancient blood clan? I'm afraid that your bronze coffin might be the key to dealing with the soul of the blood demon, Xiao He suddenly said. Maybe. Zhuowen replied casually. However, he was very clear about his own strength. So what if the bronze coffin could suppress the soul of the blood demon? His strength was still too weak. If he could find Lu Hantian in the core area and let Lu Hantian use the bronze coffin to deal with the soul of the blood demon, he might be able to defeat the soul of the blood demon. Suddenly, a thought flashed through Zhuowen's mind. He was indeed very weak, but Lu Hantian was a heaven's pride from 100 years ago. Such a heaven's pride was already invincible in Muqing County. After 100 years, his strength might have already reached the fourth reverend realm. After all, he was someone that even the soul of the blood demon couldn't do anything to. As long as he had the bronze coffin that could suppress the blood demon, Lu Hantian's chances of defeating the soul of the blood demon would greatly increase. Let's go. Let's enter the isolated island and find Lu Hantian first. He's the key to our escape from the blood demon inheritance. Thinking of this, a smile appeared on Zhuowen's face. It seemed that there was always a way out. He might really be able to decipher the blood demon inheritance. The blood cocoon streaked across the void and instantly descended on the isolated island that was filled with blood qi. This was a vast blood-colored wilderness. The strange thing was that there were roots that were as thick as an arm on the ground of this wilderness. They extended to the four corners of the wilderness and constantly pulsed like the veins of a human body. It was an extremely horrifying sight. The blood cocoon slowly dissipated, revealing Zhuowen's slender body. At this moment, Zhuowen's face revealed a trace of doubt. This wilderness gave him an extremely strange feeling, especially the blood-colored veins that crisscrossed around him. It was as if Zhuowen was in the internal organs of some unknown giant beast. What a strange place. Zhuowen couldn't help but mutter to himself as he looked around. Boy, go ahead and take a look. There seems to be some movement at the corner up ahead. Suddenly, Xiaohei's voice sounded in his mind. Hearing this, Zhuowen immediately noticed that there was a huge blood-colored hill a few hundred meters away. At the bottom of the hill, there was a winding path that extended to the other side of the hill. The movement that Xiaohei mentioned earlier should be on the other side of the hill. Is there something over there? Zhuowen asked tentatively. This isolated island is very special. It can actually suppress divine sense. I can only sense that there's movement on the other side of the hill, but I'm not sure what it is. You should go and take a look. Xiaohei shrugged. Chapter 563. Surrounded at the corner of the hill was a rather wide plain. The plain was densely packed with blood-red figures. Upon closer inspection, weren't these blood-red figures the ancient blood clan? With a single glance, Zhuowen discovered that there were no less than 100 ancient blood clan members. They constantly roamed the plain, and all of their auras were no weaker than the blood-armored creature that Zhuowen had encountered before. There were even some that were much stronger. Gulp. Zhuowen's throat involuntarily gulped when he saw the terrifying number of ancient blood clan members on the plain. His heart was already filled with shock. These several hundred ancient blood clan members were enough to instantly tear him apart. Even if he possessed the bronze coffin, it was unlikely that he would be a match for these ancient blood clan members. Xiaohei, what should I do now? I never thought that there would actually be so many ancient blood clan members here. Zhuowen said with a slightly pale face as he slowly withdrew his body. At this moment, Xiaohei's expression was extremely grave. She softly said, "We can only go around this plain. There are just too many ancient blood clan members. With your strength, you'll only be courting death if you face them." Hearing this, Zhuowen nodded. He once again observed the group of blood clan members on the plains through the gap. When he discovered that they did not discover this uninvited guest, his heart that was in his throat finally relaxed. After which, he turned around and prepared to leave the plains. However, the moment he turned around, a huge and ugly blood-red face appeared in his line of sight. A pair of blood-red eyes filled with brutality met his gaze. Immediately, the place became eerily silent. At some unknown time, an ancient blood clan member had actually appeared behind him. Zhuowen was completely stunned. A human cultivator? It's actually a human cultivator. How many years has it been? A human cultivator has actually appeared again. Human, you're mine. Let me suck your essence blood. The ancient blood clan member's appearance was similar to the blood-armored creature in the 8th stage. At this moment, its right claw suddenly slammed down toward Zhuowen's head. It wanted to directly crush Zhuowen's head. Zhuowen never thought that an ancient blood clan member would actually appear at the back of the hill. Even more so, he never thought that this ancient blood clan member would actually directly attack him. "You're courting death." Zhuowen's eyes darkened, and he suddenly took out the bronze coffin. With a swing of his hands, the bronze coffin was like a giant door, and it directly smashed into the body of the blood clan member. Countless green lights poured out, and the body was completely corroded. How is that possible? Human, what is that thing in your hand? The powerful corrosive power directly split the blood clan in front of him into two. The upper half of his body that soared into the sky stared at Zhuowen below, his ugly face full of fear. The bronze coffin was a spirit treasure that countered the blood breeds. Now that Zhuowen had unleashed his full power, he was naturally able to kill this ancient blood breeds in an instant. What's going on? There's movement on the other side of the hill. I smell the blood of my own kind. Who dares to kill our ancient blood clan? Go! Let's go and take a look. The battle between Zhuowen and the Blood Clan ended in the blink of an eye. Although it was not loud, the 5 senses of the ancient Blood Clan members were far superior to ordinary warriors. Naturally, they could sense the activity on the other side of the hill. In particular, the smell of blood that permeated the air made the group of Blood Clan members feel that something was wrong. Bush, bush. Instantly, countless sounds of air being torn apart converged into a terrifying sonic boom. The several hundred ancient Blood Clan members on the plains all rushed toward the hill. They were like locusts as they covered the entire sky. It was a spectacular sight. Not good, all the ancient Blood Clan members in the plains are charging over. Zhuowen, run. Xiao He suddenly cried out anxiously in his mind. Zhuowen's eyes narrowed. He immediately noticed the countless blood shadows that covered the sky. His face was as pale as snow. Not caring about anything else, he hurriedly opened his Thunder Serpent wings and Thunder Flood Dragon wings. With a stomp of his feet, he turned into an illusory lightning shadow and flew straight to the other side. It's a human martial artist. Another human martial artist has intruded into our master's sleeping place. Kill. Kill. All human martial artists deserve to die. This brat even dared to kill our own kind. He deserves to die even more. Frightening sonic booms intertwined in the sky, forming ear-piercing sonic booms. Numerous enormous ancient Blood Clan members noticed Zhuowen, who was miserably fleeing. Their eyes turned blood red as they chased after Zhuowen at an extremely fast speed. Damn it! How unlucky! I actually encountered the Blood Clan on the way. Looking at the black mass of Blood Clan members behind him, Zhuowen's expression was extremely ugly. If not for the Blood Clan member just now, he would have already stealthily avoided this group of Blood Clan members. It was a pity that his plans could not keep up with the changes. Human, you can't run away. It's really strange. You're so weak, but you actually managed to intrude into our master's sleeping place. How strange. However, you'll soon become my meal, he. Suddenly, a strange voice sounded from not far behind him. Zhuowen looked over and was shocked to discover that a huge Blood Clan member was closing in on him at a speed visible to the naked eye. This Blood Clan member was extremely huge, several times larger than an ordinary Blood Clan member. He was probably the leader of this group of Blood Clan members. The aura on his body was much stronger than the other Blood Clan members. He had probably reached the ultimate 6-wheel Emperor realm. This huge Blood Clan member took the lead and instantly arrived within 100 meters of Zhuowen. Furthermore, the distance between them was constantly closing. Human, obediently accept your death. This Blood Clan member bared his teeth and roared. The blood chi in his hands surged and condensed into a long double-edged axe that was several feet long. He threw it with his right hand, and the double-edged axe spun violently and smashed directly at Zhuowen's back. Zhuowen frowned slightly when he heard the sound of something piercing through the air behind him. This Blood Clan member was not done yet. He actually did not want to let him go. He snorted coldly and flipped his right hand. The huge bronze coffin instantly appeared in his hands. He swung it violently, and the air was violently torn apart as it blasted towards the huge double-edged axe behind him. Clang! The crisp sound of metal clashing rang out. Then, the Blood Clan member was shocked to discover that the double-edged axe that he had thrown out had actually been shattered by the bronze coffin in the hands of the human in front of him. What a strange coffin! I can actually feel a trace of fear from it. The Blood Clan leader frowned slightly and looked at the bronze coffin in Zhuowen's hands with fear. He took a step forward and quickly rushed toward Zhuowen. After being delayed by the double-edged axe, Zhuowen's speed had also greatly decreased, and the Blood Clan leader caught up with him in an instant. Human ancient martial art practitioner, you killed my fellow clan member. Do you think I'll let it go just like that? You'll be buried with my fellow clan member. The Blood Clan leader revealed a trace of a sinister smile on his face. His huge blood claw was like a monstrous wave as it violently smashed towards Zhuowen below. Endless blood rays exploded, and the surrounding space collapsed. Damn it! Seeing the Blood Clan leader's blood claw pressing down on him, Zhuowen's face revealed a trace of anxiety. If he was delayed by this Blood Clan leader now, it would be too late for him to escape when the group of Blood Clan members behind him caught up. I can only deal with this Blood Clan leader first. If I let him drag this on, I'll be in danger. A trace of cold light flashed in Zhuowen's eyes. He did not hold back and swung the bronze coffin fiercely towards the Blood Clan leader. At the same time, the mental strength of the 4th grade Greater Mastery gushed out as he activated the 4th grade Origin Array Infinite Sword Aura to perform 3 major sword moves. Suddenly, the bronze coffin swelled up and became 100 feet tall. It was like a pillar that supported the heavens as it violently smashed onto the body of the Blood Clan leader. The sword light formed by the Infinite Sword Aura was like a terrifying whirlpool that also enveloped the Blood Clan leader. The Blood Clan leader was not afraid as he violently swung his huge blood claw. Endless blood chi was misty as it directly tore apart the sword light whirlpool formed by the Infinite Sword Aura. Its strength was extremely terrifying. After tearing apart the sword light whirlpool, the bronze coffin that was a few hundred feet tall came one after another and violently pressed onto the body of the Blood Clan leader. "Break for me!" The Blood Clan leader shouted as he stretched out both of his claws. They were like 2 huge blood mountains as they smashed onto the huge bronze coffin in the sky. Hiss hiss hiss. What? This coffin? The moment he came into contact with the bronze coffin, the Blood Clan leader was shocked to find that the green light on the surface of the coffin was like maggots that ate away at the bones. It directly corroded his hands. His arms were instantly eaten clean, and the corrosive force continued to corrode his torso. Damn it! Get lost! The leader of the Blood Clan was both shocked and furious. The intense fear caused him to explode with a terrifying power. He directly shook off the bronze coffin and spat out a mouthful of blood. Like a meteor, he smashed into the ground. What? The leader was actually defeated? That human brat's aura is very weak. Why is the leader in such a sorry state? The countless Blood Clan members that were rushing over from behind also revealed shocked expressions when they saw the Blood Clan leader in such a sorry state. All of you go. Kill that damned human. Otherwise, all of you will die. In the deep pit, the Blood Clan leader's eyes were red as he roared at the sky with unwillingness. The human in front of him was too despicable. He was obviously very weak, but he actually had that strange bronze coffin on him that could restrain his strength. Feeling the Blood Clan leader's monstrous anger, the countless Blood Clan members behind could not help but shiver. Their leader was not a kind person. Even if it was them from the same clan, he would kill them without hesitation. They did not dare to disobey him in the slightest. Kill that human ancient martial art practitioner. Whoosh whoosh whoosh. Upon receiving the Blood Kindred leader's order, hundreds of Blood Kindred charged towards Zhuowen, who was not far away, without any regard for their lives. Zhuowen had wasted too much time fighting with the Blood Kindred leader just now, and the Blood Kindred who had fallen behind had already caught up. Instantly, hundreds of Blood Clan members surrounded Zhuowen. They stared coldly at Zhuowen with their scarlet eyes. Damn it! This time, there's really no way out. Looking at the densely packed Blood Clan members around him, Zhuowen's expression was extremely ugly. He did not expect that he would still be unable to shake off the pursuit of these Blood Clan members. Go! Kill that human. Chapter 564. Lu Hun, brat, hurry up and summon Bai Lin, then use the bronze coffin to block them. Xiao Hei's furious voice rang in his ears. Without hesitation, Yuan opened the lid of the bronze coffin. Bai Lin, who was dressed in white, stood guard beside him. At the same time, the bronze coffin emitted a dazzling green glow, forming a green cage that enveloped Zhuowen. Boom, boom, boom. Countless crimson figures surged forth, creating dazzling sparks. Although the bronze coffin had the ability to restrain the ancient blood tribe, the number of blood tribe members in the surroundings was too large. Even the bronze coffin was unable to withstand it. Bang! Instantly, a hole was smashed open in the cyan cage, and an ancient Blood Clan member snuck in with a sinister smile. Just as he was about to pounce on Zhuowen, a white figure dashed over, and Bai Lin blocked this ancient Blood Clan member's path. A great battle was about to break out. Bai Lin and the ancient blood tribe members immediately engaged in a bloody battle. Strong energy flew in all directions, and the air rose like an inverted waterfall, stirring up countless dust clouds. Bang, bang, bang. A few more holes were torn in the green cage, and another 3 ancient blood tribe members charged toward Zhuan. Zhuan's face was gloomy. With a shake of his right hand, the tyrannical dragon scale bone spear streaked across the void, and countless spear shadows greeted them. Bang, bang, bang. As time passed, more and more holes appeared in the green cage, and more ancient blood tribe members surged in. The pressure on Zhuan increased. Damn it, if this continues, I will eventually be besieged to death by these blood tribe members. Xiao He, what should I do? Zhuan hurriedly asked Xiao He for help as he dealt with the blood tribe members in a sorry state. There's no other way. We can only fight to the end. If you can't hold on, only death will await you. This dragon lord has no other choice. Xiao He's helpless voice sounded in his mind. Hearing that, Zhuan's face became even gloomier. Even Xiao He had no other choice. It seemed that he could only continue fighting. Perhaps there was still a chance of survival. Rumble. A strange sound was heard. Zhuan's pupils shrank as he discovered that Bai Lin was being attacked by dozens of ancient blood clan members at the same time. His powerful body was being torn into pieces. With Bai Lin's death, the pressure on Zhuan became even greater. Now, Zhuan was basically fighting with his life on the line. He had used all of his trump cards, but he was still forced to retreat under the siege of so many blood clan members. Countless terrifying wounds appeared on his body, and blood kept flowing out. Boom! Just as Zhuan was forced into a desperate situation, a blood spear hundreds of feet long shot up from the ground. A powerful aura erupted from the blood spear like a volcano. The surrounding air flowed upwards like an upside-down waterfall, creating thousands of ripples. The blood spear swept past Zhuan, and countless spear shadows shot out in all directions like rain. They were like the most terrifying hidden weapons in the world, accurately shooting into the bodies of countless ancient blood clan members in the surroundings. At this moment, it was as if time had stopped. The surrounding blood breeds froze on the spot. Their faces were filled with terror, as if they had seen the most terrifying thing in their lives. Sizzle! 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 Instantly, blood gushed out from the sky along with anguished wails. It gathered into a long snake-like stream in the sky. Then, it dripped down, turning into a dense curtain of rain. Hundreds of terrifying ancient blood clan members were instantly killed at this moment. So powerful! Zhuan's eyes were filled with shock as he looked at the rain of blood in the sky and the hundreds of ancient blood clan members who had died. Hundreds of ancient blood clan members who were at least at the ultimate four-wheel emperor realm had all died in an instant. What kind of strength did this require? The blood spear cut through the void and tore apart the curtain of rain. It stood silently in the sky like a huge rainbow bridge that stretched across the horizon. A figure stood quietly on the blood spear with his hands behind his back. His robes fluttered in the wind, and he looked very imposing. However, when Zhuan saw this person's face clearly, he was stunned. This person's clothes were ragged, his hair was disheveled, his face was greasy and dirty, and he looked like a beggar. Such an image, with his hands behind his back, his head held high, and his chest puffed out. He put on the image of an expert, and it looked rather out of place. However, what shocked Zhuan was that this person's aura was as vast as the sea and as deep as the abyss. He could not see through it at all. He knew that this person's cultivation far surpassed his. Moreover, he could faintly sense that this person's aura was much stronger than the strongest person in Muqing County, Lu Nantian. Zhuan could not help but feel indescribably shocked by this discovery. Wasn't that move cool? The man on the blood spear seemed to be still trying to create the image of an expert. At this moment he was looking straight ahead. His gaze was blurred, his chin was raised high, and the corners of his mouth were slightly pursed. He looked like he was the most powerful person in the world. However, his sloppy appearance was extremely strange no matter how one looked at it. However, Zhuan almost burst out laughing. However, on the surface, he still cooperated and said, "Cool. Senior is really too cool." This person's strength was so strong. Moreover, he had clearly acted to save him. Zhuan had a good impression of this greasy man. At this moment he took the opportunity to cooperate. At the same time, he flattered him a little. However, in his heart, he was cursing endlessly. "Ha! I like honest juniors like you the most. This old man did not save you for nothing. What an honest child." The man on the blood spear looked up to the sky and laughed. His laughter was extremely exaggerated. It seemed that if he did not laugh so loudly, he would not be able to display his aura. With a stomp of his foot, he drove the blood spear in front of Zhuan. Only then did Zhuan clearly see this person's true appearance. Although he had greasy hair and a dirty face, and his appearance was sloppy, he had a straight nose, spirited eyes, and sword-like eyebrows. He knew that if this person took care of himself well, he would definitely be a handsome man. Moreover, Zhuan also noticed that this sloppy man's facial features were somewhat similar to Lu Nanshan's. Zhuan's eyes flashed. He knew that this sloppy man in front of him was very likely the former #1 prodigy, Lu Hantian. "Senior, thank you for saving my life this time. I am Zhuan." When the sloppy man came closer, Zhuan hurriedly cupped his hands respectfully. "Oh, so your name is Zhuan. This core area is not a place you can casually barge into. You are so weak, but you were able to reach this area. I'm afraid you have many trump cards on you." The sloppy man looked Zhuan up and down. When he discovered that Zhuan was merely an ultimate three-wheel emperor, he couldn't help but reveal a look of astonishment. He clearly couldn't understand how someone as weak as Zhuan had managed to make it to the core zone. Zhuan did not respond to the sloppy man's words. He had many secrets, so he naturally would not reveal them so easily. Instead, he changed the topic. "Senior, you must be the former #1 prodigy of Muqin County, Lu Hantian, right? After entering the Blood Demon's legacy, I heard from an ancient Blood Clan member that you were still alive." "Lu Hantian? If you are talking about Lu Hantian, who is handsome and charming, who is loved by everyone, who makes flowers bloom when they see him, who makes girls blush when they see him, and who makes boys feel inferior when they see him, then I am him." When he said that, the sloppy man patted his chest. His face was filled with narcissism, and the corners of his mouth curled into what he thought was an extremely elegant smile, revealing a row of neat teeth. "That should be you." Zhuan's face darkened when he saw the sloppy man's narcissistic expression. He felt like thousands of horses were galloping through his heart. Lu Hantian was extremely famous in Muqin County. He was basically a legend to many young geniuses. It was said that Lu Hantian was the only prodigy who had the qualifications to challenge the top 10 on the Azure Emperor rankings. However, he died after choosing the Blood Demon's legacy, which made many prodigies feel rather regretful. Now that Zhuan had met such a prodigy who was revered by countless people, he discovered that this guy was actually a narcissist. This left Zhuan extremely speechless. Although he cursed Lu Hantian's narcissism in his heart, Zhuan was rather impressed by the former's strength. This Lu Hantian was indeed a prodigy. Even in this barren core area, his strength did not decrease. Instead, it increased. He was much stronger than Lu Nantian of the house of Marquis Qin. This was the first time that Zhuan had seen Lu Hantian in person. Actually, he still had many questions about him. Why did Lu Hantian insist on choosing the Blood Demon's legacy back then? It was rumored that Lu Hantian had escaped from the Blood Demon's legacy and brought out a portion of the legacy. However, he died due to his heavy injuries. Obviously, this rumor was completely false. However, there were still many people who believed it. Lu Nantian had also tacitly agreed to this rumor. So why did Lu Nantian do this? Zhuan was certain that Lu Nantian must know that Lu Hantian was still in the Blood Demon's legacy. However, why didn't he think of a way to save such a prodigy? Could it be that there was some taboo? Boom, boom, boom. Just as Zhuan was letting his imagination run wild, the entire island suddenly trembled. The blood chi above the island boiled and swirled, forming a funnel shape. It constantly condensed and turned into a huge human face that was several thousand feet tall. Lu Hantian, your guts are really getting bigger and bigger. You actually dared to attack this demon's blood clan when this demon was asleep. You're courting death. A majestic voice constantly reverberated between heaven and earth. The ring-shaped sound wave passed through the void and collapsed space, directly blasting towards Lu Hantian and Jun. Pucci. Zhuan violently spat out a mouthful of blood. He couldn't help but cover his ears with both hands. This sound wave was too powerful. Zhuan had only just come into contact with it, but he had already suffered heavy injuries. Lu Hantian frowned slightly. He waved his sleeve and a powerful energy enveloped Zhuan, blocking the blood demon's sound wave. His eyes were filled with fear. Blood demon, even if your might was monstrous in the ancient era and your strength was only second to the sage realm, you're just a soul now. It won't be that easy for you to deal with me. However, I have a guest today, so I won't tangle with you. We'll fight another day. As he spoke, Lu Hantian directly lifted Zhuan up as if he was lifting up a little chick. He stomped his foot and the huge blood spear beneath his feet shot out, burrowing back into the ground and disappearing. In the sky, the huge human face didn't make a move. Over the past 100 years, it had fought Lu Hantian too many times. Although its strength completely suppressed Lu Hantian, this Lu Hantian was also a heaven-gifted genius. Moreover, his ability to escape was also top-notch. Therefore, even if it made a move, it wouldn't be able to stop this Lu Hantian. Another human martial artist came in? That human's aura is too weak. How did he come in? Chapter 565. Talking freely hundreds of meters underground, there was an extremely large space. A stone table, 2 stone stools, and a stone bed were the only decorations in this huge space. Little guy, how did you reach the core area of the blood demon inheritance? With your strength, I'm afraid it will be very difficult for you to pass the 18 stages of the blood demon inheritance, right? On the stone stools, Lu Hantian and Zhuan sat opposite each other. Lu Hantian's somewhat sloppy face revealed a rare trace of seriousness. I wonder if Senior has heard of the blood demon token? Zhuan's eyes flickered as he asked. Oh, so it's the blood demon token. No wonder you can reach the core area. It's because of the power of the blood demon token. However, entering the blood demon inheritance was a wrong choice. This is a place of trouble. It's easy to enter, but it's as difficult as ascending to the heavens to leave. You might even lose your life. After hearing about the blood demon token, Lu Hantian's face revealed a relieved expression. Clearly, he had heard of the use of the blood demon token. However, he felt pity for Zhuan. After entering the blood demon inheritance, it would be difficult for him to escape for the rest of his life. Senior, you've been here for almost 100 years. Have you not found a way to escape? Zhuan frowned and could not help but ask. Lu Hantian smiled bitterly and shook his head. He said, for 100 years, I've been trying to find a way to escape. Unfortunately, it's useless. The only way now is to destroy the slumbering soul of the blood demon. Once the blood demon dies, this space will collapse on its own. Unfortunately, although the blood demon only has a strand of soul left, it's impossible to destroy it without reaching the Emperor realm. Must I reach the Emperor realm to destroy the soul of the blood demon? Is there no other way? Hearing this, Zhuan's heart thumped. It was not so easy to reach the sovereign realm. One should know that the Qing Xian Empire was vast, but the Qing Emperor was the only one who had reached the sovereign realm. It could be seen how difficult it was to reach the sovereign realm. If there's another way, it would be to have the demon-suppressing green coffin left behind by an ancient senior on the peak of Zhongling Mountain. This demon-suppressing green coffin is extremely effective against evil demons like the blood demon. If I have the demon-suppressing green coffin, I can kill the blood demon soul. However, it's a pity that I didn't manage to cross the final step of Zhongling Mountain. There was no pressure on that final step, and it was a real illusion. I was too young back then, and there was a hole in my heart. Unfortunately, I failed. What a pity! When he spoke up to hear, Lu Hantian couldn't help but shake his head in regret. Obviously, he felt extremely helpless and regretful for not being able to ascend to the peak of Zhongling Mountain all those years ago. Hearing the words real illusion, Yuan couldn't help but think highly of the Lu Hantian in front of him. No wonder this person was called the peerless genius of Muqing County that appeared once in 100 years. He was actually able to sense that the final step of Zhongling Mountain was a real illusion. Unfortunately, this kind of genius didn't have such a strong heart back then. In the end, he failed at the last step. Senior, perhaps I have a way to help you defeat the blood demon soul. After pondering for a moment, Yuan finally decided to take a gamble. He knew that the demon-suppressing green coffin that Lu Hantian mentioned should be the bronze coffin on his body. He was too weak, and even if he had the demon-suppressing green coffin, it was impossible for him to be a match for the blood demon soul. However, the Lu Hantian in front of him was different. Although this person's strength was not as strong as the blood demon soul, the blood demon soul was unable to do anything to this person for 100 years. From this, it could be seen how strong Lu Hantian was. Therefore, if he wanted to escape from this place, he could only rely on Lu Hantian. Lu Hantian shook his head and said, "Little fellow, you can't speak carelessly like this. Even I haven't found a way to defeat the blood demon soul. How can a little fellow like you who stinks of milk do it?" Boom. Zhuan didn't reply. He patted his Qiankuan bag and a strand of green light flashed. A bronze coffin that was around 3 meters in size suddenly smashed onto the ground, causing the ground to crack and gravel to float up. Demon suppressive. Green coffin? Originally, Lu Hantian's face was filled with an indifferent expression, but at this moment, when his gaze converged on the bronze coffin that suddenly appeared, he was completely stunned, as if he had seen a ghost. "Why do you have this demon-suppressing green coffin on you?" Lu Hantian was still in disbelief as he stared fixedly at the bronze coffin and muttered, "I've climbed to the peak of Zhongling Mountain before." Zhuowen's expression was extremely calm as he softly said. Lu Hantian's body trembled as he stared at Zhuowen with a complicated gaze and said, "No wonder you dared to come to the blood demon inheritance. So it turns out that you've climbed to the peak of Zhongling Mountain before. Your talent and potential far surpasses mine. It's true that there are talented people in every generation, and the new generation excels the old. Senior is too modest. Junior's current strength is simply insignificant. If I want to leave this place, I will have to rely on Senior." Zhuan cupped his hands in a rather humble manner. The reason he took out the demon-suppressing green coffin was also a gamble. He was betting on Lu Hantian's character. If this Lu Hantian had evil intentions because of this bronze coffin, he could only admit that he was unlucky. Fortunately, this Lu Hantian wasn't such a despicable person. "Ah, good, you're called Zhuowen, right? This demon-suppressing green coffin is a top-grade heaven-ranked spirit treasure. We haven't known each other for long, yet you dare to take out such a precious treasure. Aren't you afraid that I'll kill you to silence you?" Lu Hantian suddenly said with a smile. However, Yuan laughed and said, "Right now, the two of us are trapped in the core area, and the only way is to destroy the blood demon soul. The demon-suppressing green coffin is indeed powerful, but this brat is too weak, so it's impossible for him to unleash the power of such a treasure. And Senior, you are such a handsome, elegant, lovable, and peerless handsome man. With this demon-suppressing green coffin, you have a very high chance of defeating the soul of the blood demon. I am only trying to save myself." Hearing this, Lu Hantian immediately laughed out loud and said, Not bad. You brat, you know the big picture and your words are sweet. It's to my liking. From now on you're my Lu Hantian's brother. If anyone dares to have any ideas about you, I'll kill them." At this moment, Lu Hantian's smile was extremely lewd and annoying. Furthermore, he casually placed his hand on Zhuowen's shoulder, his face full of enthusiasm. Seeing Lu Hantian's immoral performance, Zhuowen's head was filled with black lines, and he cursed in his heart. However, he could feel the excitement in Lu Hantian's heart. Obviously, he had been trapped here for too long, and now that Zhuowen had brought the demon-suppressing green coffin, it was like a timely rain to him. How could he not be happy? "In the future, you don't have to call me Senior. Just call me Big Brother Hantian. We're brothers now, so there's no need to be so formal. Moreover, I, your big brother, am only borrowing your demon-suppressing green coffin for a while. After we escape from here, I'll return it to you." Suddenly, Lu Hantian's expression became serious as he said. Hearing this, Yun couldn't help but be stunned. Originally, after taking out the demon-suppressing green coffin, he didn't plan to take it back from Lu Hantian. After all, Lu Hantian's strength was too strong. If he didn't give it to him, Yun wouldn't be able to do anything to him. However, Lu Hantian just had to make a solemn promise to him. This caused Yun to have a higher opinion of the sloppy man in front of him. If Big Brother feels that the demon-suppressing green coffin is useful, you can take it and use it. After all, Little Brother's strength is weak, and I'm simply unable to unleash the full power of the demon-suppressing green coffin. I'm afraid. Yun was somewhat hesitant. Don't be so wishy-washy. The demon-suppressing green coffin was obtained by you. As Big Brother, I naturally won't take Little Brother's things. Moreover, this core area contains the place where the soul of the blood demon is sleeping. There are many treasures inside. If we really destroy the soul of the blood demon, the treasures inside will be enough for the two of us to split. There's no need to be so wishy-washy. Lu Hantian shook his head and said with some displeasure. Seeing Lu Hantian so insistent, Yun could only silently nod his head. However, he felt a warm current in his heart. Big Brother, with this bronze coffin, how confident are you in defeating the soul of the blood demon? Zhuowen suddenly asked. Hearing this, Lu Hantian became serious and said, it should be 60%. The soul of the blood demon is most afraid of the demon-suppressing green coffin. With such a treasure, the blood demon won't be able to unleash much of its strength. However, Yun frowned. Even with the demon-suppressing green coffin, Lu Hantian only had 60% confidence. It seemed that the soul of the blood demon was indeed terrifying. Yun, I need a period of time to refine the demon-suppressing green coffin. During this period of time, you should cultivate and meditate in my cave. I see that you are also a good spear user. That rock wall is your Big Brother's training room. There are many things that I have left behind. You can take a look. Maybe it will be of some help to you. Also, it's best that you don't leave this cave. Right now, you are too weak. If you are discovered by the soul of the blood demon, you will definitely die. Remember this. After solemnly instructing him, Lu Hantian took the demon-suppressing green coffin and directly entered a cave in the cave. He prepared to silently refine the demon-suppressing green coffin. At this moment, it involved the soul of the blood demon, so he naturally had no choice but to pay attention to it. Zhuowen did not plan to disturb Lu Hantian. Instead, he looked around the cave. This cave was indeed very simple and crude. Other than the daily necessities, there were no extra decorations. It was just like the life of a caveman. After walking around, Yun finally arrived at Lu Hantian's training room. However, just as he stepped into the door of the training room, a sharp cold light shot out. Zhuowen's pupils shrank. He quickly took out his bone spear and placed it in front of his chest to block the cold light. Dang dang dang. Retreating more than 10 steps, Yun groaned. The blood and qi in his body boiled. He looked at the entrance of the training room in shock. Could it be that there is someone else in the training room? His expression became serious. Zhuowen was somewhat unwilling to admit defeat. He took a step and once again arrived at the entrance of the training room. Suddenly, an even sharper cold light shot out from the room. At this moment, Yun was already prepared. The bone spear in his hand trembled. Countless spear shadows erupted, directly and accurately blocking the sudden cold light. Clang clang clang. The sound of metal clashing continuously resounded in the cave, and sparks flew everywhere. Break for me. Chapter 566. Luring the snake out of its hole, there was not a single person in the large training room. The cold light that flashed out was actually emitted from the spear marks on the walls of the room. Obviously, these spear marks were left behind by Lu Hantian when he was practicing his spear. Just the spear marks alone had such terrifying power. It was really hard to tell how strong Lu Hantian was. On the walls of the room, other than the dense spear marks, Zhuowen saw lines of dense handwriting in the corner of the room. Looking carefully, these handwriting were actually the experiences of Lu Hantian when he was practicing his spear. Lu Hantian is a genius. The experiences of these walls are extremely important to you. Xiao Hei's voice suddenly sounded. Nodding his head, Yuan carefully looked at the dense handwriting on the wall. The contents were extremely obscure and difficult to understand. Furthermore, he discovered that there was an unfamiliar term, spear intent, mentioned in between the lines. With a toss of the dragon, the universe is broken. With a single spear, the borders of the country are destroyed. With 100 generations of soldiers under the heavens, the path of cold condensation is a pit for 10,000 people. The spear intent, the soul of the spear, is the way of the overlord, the way of the arrogant and unrestrained. There is no me in this world. If others laugh at me, I laugh at others. This is the spear intent. Zhuo Wen's eyes revealed a look of comprehension as he carefully studied the contents of the words on the barrier. The bone spear in his hand could not help but dance like a swimming dragon, like a long python, like a waterfall, like a rainbow bridge. In an instant, the entire training room was filled with Zhuo Wen's figure. Zhuo Wen's dance became faster and faster, more and more intense. The power of his spear actually faintly caused the space to tremble and show signs of collapse. Countless streams of air surrounded him as his aura surged. Clang! Suddenly, Zhuo Wen's spear swung out. As if it had pierced through space, a clear sound of the spear rang out. It was distant and misty. The surrounding space actually collapsed, revealing a sinister vortex of black holes. Spear intent, what is it? Withdrawing his spear, Zhuo Wen's gaze turned blurry. Soon after, he silently sat down in a cross-legged position. The words within the training room had caused Zhuo Wen to be greatly moved and enlightened. At the same time, for some unknown reason, he actually had an extremely strong desire for the spear aura in his heart for the first time. Mysteries within mysteries, the great Tao is the simplest. Time passed day by day, and in the blink of an eye, more than half a month had passed. During this half a month, Yuan basically sat cross-legged in the cultivation room. Occasionally he would frown and occasionally he would wave his bone spear, dancing gracefully as the spear shot out like a dragon. Living beings have souls. If the spear in my hand also has a soul, what would it be like? The soul of the spear, the intent of the spear. In the training room, Zhuan slowly stood up and shook the long spear in his right hand. Instantly, countless spear shadows spread out in all directions like countless hidden weapons. Instantly, there were many more spear marks on the surrounding walls. Clang, clang, clang. After all, there was a trace of Lu Hantian's spear intent left on the surrounding walls. When Zhuan secretly left spear marks on the walls, a cold light suddenly flew out from the surface of the walls, densely enveloping Zhuo. If the spear has a soul, then it is called spear intent. When the spear is filled with life, then the spear has a soul and a concept. This is called spear intent. As Zhuan muttered to himself, the bone spear in his right hand pierced out in a seemingly slow manner. Instantly, a dense amount of spear lights erupted. The countless spear lights were like living snakes, accurately resisting the cold light shooting out from all directions. Clang, clang, clang. Countless sparks flew. In the midst of the sparks, Yuan lifted his feet and slowly walked out of the training room door, spotless. The moment he finally stepped on the door, the sound of metal clashing in the room gradually faded away. Instead, there were many more terrifying and deep spear marks on the surrounding walls. These new spear marks were even colder than Lu Hantian's spear marks. What a terrifying brat! It has only been half a month, and in my training room, you have already grasped the basics of spear intent. No wonder you were able to reach the peak of Zhongling Mountain. Your potential and comprehension are equally abnormal. Outside the training room, the shabbily dressed Lu Hantian carried the huge demon-suppressing green coffin on his back. He looked at the figure walking out of the training room with a complicated gaze. In just half a month, the youth in front of him had already grasped the basics of spear intent. Such a result made him have the impulse to kill himself. Big brother Hantian, have you finished refining the demon-suppressing green coffin? Jun did not care about Lu Hantian's strange gaze. Instead, he asked with an excited smile. The spear marks in Lu Hantian's training room were of great help to him. In half a month, he had already grasped the basics of spear intent. If Zhuan did not guess incorrectly, spear intent should be divided into 3 major realms: elementary, advanced, and great heights. Currently, he was at the elementary level. Although his strength had not increased significantly, his understanding and use of the spear had already reached the acme of perfection. A martial artist who had grasped the concept of spear intent would be able to mobilize the power of heaven and earth with every move. It could greatly increase their strength and power. Under the same level, they would be invincible. If Zhuan were to face Zhu Qi at this time, he would not need to use his trump card. He could use spear intent to defeat Zhu Qi with a single spear strike. This was the benefit that spear intent brought to Zhuan. Lu Hantian nodded his head. His face revealed a trace of a smile as he said, "Fortunately, I did not disappoint you. Now, I have basically grasped the power of the demon-suppressing green coffin. If I were to face the soul of the blood demon this time, I can be sure that I have at least a 60% chance of killing it." Hearing Lu Hantian say this, Zhuan's face also revealed a moved expression. The battle with the soul of the blood demon was very crucial. He did not want Lu Hantian to fail. "Big brother Hantian, help me guard. I can feel that my 4th heavenly tribulation is about to arrive. I'm afraid that this place will soon be discovered by the soul of the blood demon." Zhuan's eyes flickered as he suddenly said, "You want to cross the 4th heavenly tribulation?" Hearing this, Lu Hantian could not help but be startled. The cave he opened was extremely hidden. It was one of the few core areas that the soul of the blood demon could not explore. It was because of this cave that although Lu Hantian's strength was not as strong as the soul of the blood demon, he could often escape from its pursuit. "All right, you can cross the tribulation and draw out the soul of the blood demon. This time, it's time for you to understand everything with the soul of the blood demon. However, you have to be careful." Lu Hantian nodded his head. "Big brother Hantian, you can rest assured. I will do my best to be careful. When crossing the tribulation, the soul of the blood demon will not dare to attack me while I'm crossing the tribulation. The one who should be careful is you." Nodding his head, Zhuan looked at Lu Hantian with worry. He was very clear that Lu Hantian was about to confront the soul of the blood demon. Jun had already experienced the strength of the soul of the blood demon, so he was naturally worried about Lu Hantian. Don't worry. With the demon-suppressing green coffin in hand, your big brother won't die. Hurry up and cross the tribulation. I can't wait to have a showdown with the soul of the blood demon." Lu Hantian laughed heartily. Shaking his head, Zhuan didn't say anything. Instead, he sat down cross-legged and circulated the aura in his body. Instantly, his aura shot up like a rocket. The epiphany in the cultivation room not only allowed Zhuan to grasp the basics of spear intent, it also allowed him to break through the bottleneck of the Ultimate Emperor realm and naturally reach the Ultimate Emperor realm. When Zhuo Jingwen's aura soared to the level of an Ultimate 4-wheel Emperor, the bloody qi in the air above the lone island suddenly surged and dispersed. Dark clouds that resembled black dragons continuously condensed. Occasionally, lightning flashed and thunder rumbled within the dark clouds. It was an exceptionally frightening sight. Tribulation of the heavens and earth? Below the isolated island, countless bloody auras condensed and turned into a huge human face. It was the soul of the blood demon. At this moment, the soul of the blood demon was looking up at the gathering dark clouds in the sky. "Looks like the heavens are really helping me. That new human cultivator has actually broken through and crossed the tribulation at this time. Then, the location of Lu Hantian's cave will be completely exposed because of this heavenly tribulation. Lu Hantian, the game of cat and mouse is about to come to an end." At this point, the soul of the blood demon stared intently at the tribulation clouds in the sky. He knew that when the first heavenly tribulation descended, Lu Hantian's cave would be completely exposed. Boom! A bolt of lightning as thick as a bucket came crashing down from the 9 heavens with a loud boom. It streaked across the sky above the isolated island. "Over there. Lu Hantian, you won't be able to escape today. After the cave is exposed, you have nowhere to hide. Be a good boy and accept your death." The moment the first bolt of lightning flashed, the soul of the blood demon laughed loudly. The huge human face turned back into a bloody cloud and shot towards the source of the lightning in the distance. This was a huge basin. Not a single blade of grass grew in the surroundings. It was desolate and uninhabited. With a boom, the huge bolt of lightning struck the center of the basin, forming a huge black hole. There was actually a completely different world below the hole. A young man sat there silently with his legs crossed. His entire body flickered with golden light. He waved his right hand and actually caught the terrifying bolt of lightning. With a squeeze of his hand, the bolt of lightning was obliterated into nothingness. Zhuowen, who possessed the battle prowess of an ultimate emperor realm cultivator, didn't care about 4 heavenly tribulations at all. To Jun, a bolt of lightning of this level couldn't do any harm to him at all. A huge cloud of blood shot over and stopped above the basin. Then, a huge human face appeared. The blood demon stared at the young man in the black hole and laughed proudly. "Lu Hannan, why haven't you come out yet? You probably didn't expect that the human you saved would expose your cave abode in the end because of the tribulation, right? Without a cave, you won't be able to escape my pursuit no matter where you go. You're dead for sure." Boom. As soon as the blood demon finished speaking, a blood spear hundreds of meters long shot into the sky. It tore through the ground and shot into the sky with a whoosh. Chapter 567. Suppressing the blood demon. Lu Hantian's words were truly shocking. Zhuowen, who was below the black hole, was speechless. Such vulgar words. Where was the demeanor of an expert? The blood demon seemed to be used to Lu Hantian's way of speaking. He wasn't angry at all. Instead, he said indifferently, "Lu Hannan, for the past 100 years, you've been saying that you want to kill me. It's a pity that after so many years, you've been like a coward, hiding from place to place. If you have the ability, then come and kill me." When the blood demon said that last sentence, Lu Hantian and Zhuowen both burst out laughing. The blood demon really didn't understand the ways of the world. He could actually say such words so calmly. "You said it yourself. See if I don't kill you." After saying that, Lu Hantian stomped his foot and the huge blood spear under his feet made a buzzing sound. It pierced through the void and directly swept towards the blood demon in front of him. Insignificant skill. The blood demon coldly snorted. Countless streams of blood condensed and turned into a blood shadow that was several 100 feet tall. Its huge palm slammed down and directly blasted the blood spear away. Then, it stomped its foot and rushed towards Lu Hantian. At this moment, Lu Hantian's expression became more and more serious. For the past 100 years, he had fought the blood demon no less than 100 times. Every time, he was at an absolute disadvantage. Therefore, he couldn't be careless at this moment. Lu Hantian was like a red-crowned crane soaring through the 9 heavens. He instantly dodged the blood demon's attack and arrived on top of the blood spear. He stomped his foot again, and the huge blood spear instantly expanded to several zhang in length. With a toss of the dragon, the universe is broken. With a single spear, the borders of the country are destroyed. Ruthless and unparalleled in the world's 100 generations of soldiers, the path of cold condensation is a pit of 10,000 people. As he slowly recited the cryptic poem, Lu Hantian's aura became extremely terrifying. His messy hair and clothes fluttered in the wind. The surrounding air rose like an inverted waterfall, stirring up thousands of flowers. He was like a god or a demon, vast and boundless. Spear intent. Far surpassing elementary spear intent, I'm afraid that Big Brother Hantian's spear intent has already reached the advanced intermediate level. Looking at Lu Hantian's imposing spear, Zhuowen could not help but feel his blood boil. At this moment, the spear intent that Lu Hantian had displayed far surpassed the elementary spear intent that Zhuowen had just grasped. Every casual move was so strong that the spear intent could actually shatter space, raise the air, and reverse the airflow. The moment Lu Hantian unleashed his spear intent, the blood devil's gaze turned solemn. He crossed his hands and growled, "Blood slaughter in all directions." Rumble. An earth-shattering tremor spread out. It was unknown when, but below the island, 8 blood mountains rose from the ground and soared into the sky. Lu Hantian was directly surrounded by the 8 giant mountains. Blood demon. Blood slaughter in all directions can't trap me, watch me break it. Lu Hantian's gaze was extremely sharp. With a twist of his right hand, the blood spear fiercely pierced out. Instantly, with him as the center, the space within a radius of a few hundred li collapsed, and the laws became chaotic. This spear had a soul, and it was called spear intent. This was the power of spear intent. Even if it was just a casual spear, it possessed a terrifying might. Rumble. The 8 blood mountains, along with the surrounding space, collapsed one after another. A figure swept out. Lu Hantian's long hair fluttered in the wind. With a spear in his hand, he looked like a dragon or a tiger. Your spear intent has improved again. I really didn't expect that a mere 4th revered realm like you could actually rely on spear intent to reach such a level. Your perception and talent is really admirable. Unfortunately, you must die. Blood slaughter in all directions was broken, but the blood devil was still as calm as an ancient well. Looking at Lu Hantian, his gaze was filled with a trace of mockery. He opened his palm, and the surrounding blood chi surged out violently. Phaseless 7 battles absolute kill formation. Lu Hantian, this is the first time in 100 years that you've forced me to use this move. Therefore, you can die in peace. I won't waste your blood essence, hee. The blood devil's sinister voice filled the heavens and earth. Soon after, countless blood chi in the air above the lone island formed an inverted funnel, hanging in front of the blood devil. They turned into 700s of feet wide blood-red spheres. 7 terrifying auras swept out, wreaking havoc and terror like overturning rivers and seas. Phaseless 7 battles absolute kill formation? The 7 blood-red spheres surrounded Lu Hantian in the center. Countless blood-red chains were formed on the surface of the spheres, and the blood chi was oppressive. Clang, clang, clang. The blood-red chains swept out and covered Lu Hantian with tacit understanding, forcibly turning into a blood-red cage. Lu Hantian looked at the blood-red chains with a grave expression. He coldly snorted and said, "Blood devil. Even the phaseless 7 battles absolute kill formation can't stop me. Break for me." As he spoke, Lu Hantian's long spear swept out, and an even more profound concept leaked out from the tip of the spear. This was a domineering aura, as if he was the sole ruler of the 9 heavens and 10 earths. Boom, 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 boom. The spear shadows that filled the sky turned into a terrifying hurricane, spreading out in all directions. At this moment, the spear in Lu Hantian's hand seemed to have a life of its own, and endless spear shadows swept out. Even if Lu Hantian didn't control it, the blood spear actually moved on its own, and its might reached an extreme. Gotcha! The instant this profound concept appeared, the blood-red cage instantly shattered, and countless chains flew out. Following that, the 7 blood-red spheres exploded one after another, and a figure swept out. It was Lu Hantian. What a powerful spear intent. This Lu Hantian spear intent is even more terrifying than before. Could it be that it has already reached the highest level, the peak of perfection? When the phaseless 7 battles absolute kill formation finally broke, the blood devil's expression finally changed. Lu Hantian's current strength had somewhat exceeded its imagination. It even suspected that Lu Hantian had been hiding his strength when they fought before, and now it was all revealed. The blood devil. A roar like the morning bell and evening drum resounded between heaven and earth. Lu Hantian wielded his spear like an arrow, and instantly arrived in front of the blood devil. He waved the blood spear in his hand, and a terrifying concept exploded out, almost distorting the space between the two, and countless black holes appeared. Clang. However, when Lu Hantian's blood spear finally pierced the blood devil's body, the sound of metal clashing slowly reverberated between heaven and earth. The blood spear actually didn't leave a single mark on the blood devil's body. Ha! Lu Hantian, don't you know? I am an ancient blood devil. Although my physical body was once destroyed, even if this is a temporary true body, it's still not something that you can shake. Even if your spear intent has reached the peak of perfection, it's still impossible, because you're still not an Emperor Realm expert. The blood devil laughed heartily, and a mountain-like palm descended from the sky, directly smashing onto Lu Hantian's head. Lu Hantian wasn't afraid, and the spear in his hand trembled. Spear intent erupted, and the power of heaven and earth turned into tortoise shells that surrounded his body. Dang dang dang. When the two collided, Lu Hantian was repeatedly pushed back in the air. He groaned, and a trace of blood flowed out from the corner of his mouth. Below, Zhuan had already passed 4 rounds of the tribulation of heaven and earth. When he saw Lu Hantian being pushed back, he couldn't help but reveal a worried expression. Why isn't Big Brother Hantian using the demon-suppressing green coffin? Could it be? Staring at Lu Hantian, who was continuously retreating, Zhuan revealed a thoughtful expression. What's wrong? Lu Hantian, weren't you very arrogant just now? Why aren't you clamoring now? Or have you already given up? The blood devil stomped his foot, and his attacks were like a storm, pouring down towards Lu Hantian. With his terrifying physical body, the blood devil wasn't afraid of Lu Hantian's attacks at all, because in his opinion, Lu Hantian wouldn't be able to break through his physical body no matter what. Boom! With another palm strike, Lu Hantian was sent flying like a rubber ball. He spat out a mouthful of blood and barely managed to stop himself 100 meters away. However, his eyes were full of vigor. At this moment, the blood devil no longer placed Lu Hantian in his eyes. There was no suspense in the battle between them. If Lu Hantian's cave dwelling hadn't been exposed, Lu Hantian might have been able to escape. Unfortunately, Lu Hantian's cave dwelling had been exposed. Even if he wanted to escape, where could he escape? This entire island was under the blood devil's surveillance. As long as he couldn't leave this island, Lu Hantian wouldn't be able to escape. Only death awaited him. I'm done playing. Lu Hantian, you can die now. A trace of impatience appeared on the blood devil's face. He suddenly threw out a huge palm, preparing to annihilate Lu Hantian in one fell swoop. Facing the huge palm that was getting closer and closer, the light in Lu Hantian's eyes became more and more intense, and the corner of his mouth actually revealed a trace of a brilliant smile. Blood devil! The one who will die won't be me, but you. After muttering those words, Lu Hantian's expression was extremely calm. He slapped his right palm behind his back, and a monstrous green light filled the sky. A bronze coffin flew out from Lu Hantian's back and floated above the blood Magatama's head. Then, the bronze coffin expanded at a speed visible to the naked eye, until it was several thousand feet tall. It was several times larger than the blood devil's body. Bang! A soft sound rang out, and the lid of the bronze coffin slowly opened. An earth-shaking aura overflowed, and the bronze coffin flipped over, directly enveloping the blood devil. What? This is the demon-suppressing green coffin. Ah, damned Lu Hantian, so you didn't resist before because you were waiting for this opportunity. You cunning human, damned human. A trace of fear finally appeared in the blood devil's eyes. Endless green light wrapped around the blood devil's body, and actually pulled him into the coffin. No. Lu Hantian, let this lord go. This lord agrees to let you out, and give you the inheritance this lord left behind. I only beg you to let me go. At this moment, half of the blood devil's body was already in the bronze coffin. The blood devil repeatedly begged Lu Hantian for mercy. After successfully summoning the demon-suppressing green coffin, Lu Hantian's nature was exposed, and he started to show off. Calling me Lord Lu, don't you think it's too impolite? Lord Lu, I'll kowtow to you. As long as you let me go, I'll promise you anything. The blood devil seemed to have seen hope, and he continued to kowtow and beg for mercy. Lu Hantian picked his ear and laughed mischievously. This lord will accept your inheritance. As for you, it's better for you to stay in the demon-suppressing green coffin. The blood devil's expression froze, and he angrily shouted, Lu Han, you damned bastard. I should have killed you earlier, you scourge. The blood devil's voice became softer and softer, until there was no more life. Bang. Chapter 568. Aura concealing divine Jadal Hantian grinned and waved his right hand. In the air, the demon-suppressing green coffin gradually shrunk to the size of a few feet. With a swoosh, it was held in Lu Hantian's hand. Blood demon, you should obediently stay in this demon-suppressing green coffin. Hee hee, but you can rest assured that we will not let go of your nest. We will definitely clean it up. Patting the demon-suppressing green coffin's lid, Lu Hantian laughed extremely lasciviously. Buzz buzz. The demon-suppressing green coffin violently trembled. The blood demon inside had clearly heard Lu Hantian's words and faintly let out an unwilling roar. However, the demon-suppressing green coffin was an item that specialized in restraining evil spirits. No matter how the blood demon struggled, it was unable to escape. Under the blood basin, after seeing the blood demon being sealed by the demon-suppressing green coffin, Zhuowen's face revealed a joyous expression. He knew that once the blood demon died, this space would no longer be able to trap him and Lu Hantian. Zhuowen, wasn't your big brother handsome just now? The blood demon was killed by your big brother in a few moves. It seems that being too strong is not a good thing. Sometimes, life is just so lonely like snow. A sloppy figure descended from the sky and appeared in front of Zhuowen. Lu Hantian's right hand stopped, and the demon-suppressing green coffin suddenly sat on the ground. Soon after, Lu Hantian struck a pose and sighed like a lonely expert. Looking at Lu Hantian's appearance, Zhuowen's head was filled with black lines. He was originally worried about this guy's injuries, but now it seemed that he was overthinking. Take it. The demon-suppressing green coffin is very beneficial to you. Take it with you. Lu Hantian patted his right hand, and the demon-suppressing green coffin immediately landed in front of Zhuowen. Looking at the demon-suppressing green coffin in front of him, Zhuowen stared and hesitated. Don't be so sentimental. If it wasn't for you, your big brother wouldn't have been able to seal the blood demon, and if the blood demon couldn't be destroyed, I'm afraid your big brother would have to live in this core area for the rest of his life. Speaking of which, it was you who saved me. Lu Hantian waved his hand. When he saw Zhuowen's hesitation, his face was filled with displeasure. Then I'll have to thank big brother Hantian. Zhuowen was not an indecisive person. Since Lu Hantian insisted on giving up the demon-suppressing green coffin, Zhuowen naturally would not reject such a good thing. Looking at the devil-suppressing green coffin in front of him, Zhuowen was shocked to discover that the green coffin had changed greatly. Previously, the surface of the green coffin was bronze, but now, there were actually blood-red veins extending from the green coffin, as if they were blood vessels in the human body. This is the phenomenon of the blood demon's power resisting the devil-suppressing green coffin. As if he had sensed Zhuowen's astonishment, Lu Hantian said with a faint smile. So that's how it is. However, that blood demon is so powerful, is it possible for it to escape from the devil-suppressing green coffin? After feeling the power of the blood demon, Zhuowen said worriedly. Lu Hantian smiled and shook his head. Don't worry, the devil-suppressing green coffin is a spirit treasure that can restrain evil spirits like the blood demon. If it was the blood demon at its peak, it would be difficult for the green coffin to suppress it, but the blood demon's body is broken, and only this strand of soul is left, so it doesn't have the strength to escape from the devil-suppressing green coffin. Hearing that, Zhuowen nodded his head, and immediately extended his right hand. Just as he was about to keep the devil-suppressing green coffin into his universe bag, he suddenly froze, and a strange expression appeared on his face. This was because he discovered that in the instant he came into contact with the devil-suppressing green coffin, waves of surging energy flowed from the surface of the green coffin along his arm and entered his body. Moreover, this energy was actually constantly strengthening the world energy in his dantian. This energy, Zhuowen said with a face full of pleasant surprise. Do you feel it? This energy is the blood demon's energy. To be more precise, it is the energy absorbed by the devil-suppressing green coffin when refining the blood demon. This energy is extremely beneficial to an ultimate Emperor realm cultivator like you. Moreover, the blood demon's energy is extremely vast. Even if the devil-suppressing green coffin wants to completely refine the blood demon, it will probably take 3 years. During these 3 years, the blood demon's energy can be completely converted into the world energy in your dantian. This energy from the blood demon is enough for you to cultivate to the 4th stage of the exalted realm. Lu Hantian said with a smile as he stared at Zhuowen. After absorbing the blood demon, the devil-suppressing green coffin had actually become an extremely rich energy source. This energy source could be continuously replenished for Zhuowen's cultivation and battle. Tidun, this was a great fortune. Thank you, big brother Hantian. Wen cupped his hands gratefully towards Lu Hantian. This kind of fortune was probably something that even a fourth-stage expert would be envious of, but Lu Hantian gave it to him without any hesitation. From this, it could be seen that Lu Hantian really did treat him as a brother. It's a small matter. Also, this devil-suppressing green coffin needs to be in contact with your body in order for the energy inside to be continuously transmitted into your body. I suggest that you carry it on your back, Lu Hantian said solemnly as he waved his hand. Hearing this, Jun was indeed a little hesitant. Lu Hantian's suggestion was indeed good, but the devil-suppressing green coffin was a heaven-rank spirit treasure after all. The aura it emitted was very easy for others to recognize it. At that time, it would probably arouse the greed of others. I know what you're worried about. This is an aura-concealing divine jade, a special treasure used to conceal the aura of spirit treasures. If you hang this aura-concealing divine jade on your body, you can completely conceal the aura of the devil-suppressing green coffin. With that, Lu Hantian flicked his finger, and a black jade pendant shot into Zhuowen's palm. Then, Jun felt that the aura of the devil-suppressing green coffin was completely absorbed by the aura-concealing divine jade. Now, it seemed that the devil-suppressing green coffin was no different from an ordinary coffin. Good stuff. Feeling the weak aura of the devil-suppressing green coffin, Zhuowen's eyes flashed with a light. With a pat of his right hand, he directly carried the devil-suppressing green coffin on his back. Immediately, waves of surging energy passed through the meridians on his back and continuously poured into his body, causing Zhuowen to be so comfortable that he couldn't help but cry out. That's right. Big brother Hantian, can you tell me the specific realm of the four venerables in detail? And what is your current strength? Suddenly, Zhuowen asked curiously. Lu Hantian raised his eyebrows. He did not expect Zhuowen to ask about the four venerables realm. After pondering for a while, he casually sat beside Zhuowen and said, Then I'll tell you. With your talent, advancing to the four venerables realm should be something that happens sooner or later. The most important source of energy for a martial artist is the dantian in the lower abdomen. The dantian has endless possibilities, and before the four venerables realm, the dantian is oval-shaped. There is chaos inside, and most of the energy in your meridians is the energy in your meridians. If the dantian is compared to an egg, then before the four venerables realm, the dantian is in an unhatched state. But once your strength reaches the four venerables realm, the chaos in your dantian will give birth to a nascent soul. I call it breaking out of the cocoon and forming a nascent soul. If you can break out of the cocoon and form a nascent soul, then you will officially become a four venerables realm expert. However, at the beginning, the nascent soul will be extremely weak, equivalent to a human child, so you will need to constantly forge and nurture the nascent soul in your dantian. Furthermore, this nascent soul will be of great benefit to you. It can be said that this is your second life. If you die, as long as your nascent soul escapes, you will be able to reconstruct your body and revive. However, this process will take a very long time. After all, the nascent soul is an extremely fragile existence. If you are not careful, your soul will be destroyed. The four venerables realm is divided into four small realms. They are the mystic venerables, sovereign venerables, golden venerables, and heavenly venerables. Among them, the mystic venerables are the weakest, and the heavenly venerables are the strongest. And I am currently at the peak of the heavenly venerables realm. At this point, Lu Hantian's voice suddenly stopped. Instead, he stared at Jun, who seemed to be deep in thought. Heavenly venerables? I really didn't expect you to have reached the heavenly venerables realm. Doesn't that mean you are extremely close to the emperor realm? Hearing that Lu Hantian was a heavenly venerables, Zhuowen's heart could not help but skip the beat. No wonder the blood demon was unable to kill Lu Hantian for 100 years. It turned out that Lu Hantian's strength was actually so powerful. He was probably not far from the emperor realm. It's not that simple. It's not that easy for a heavenly venerables to reach the emperor realm. In the Qing Empire, there are many warriors who have reached the Heavenly Venerable's realm. However, only Emperor Qing was able to reach the Emperor realm. It's not that easy to advance to the Emperor realm. Lu Hantian shook his head. Although he also yearned to reach the Emperor realm, it was simply an unreachable dream. Although the peak of the Heavenly Venerable's realm and the Emperor realm were only one step away, breaking through was as difficult as ascending to the heavens. Hearing this, Zhuan also nodded in agreement. It was indeed extremely difficult to reach the Emperor realm. Otherwise, in such a vast Qing Empire, for hundreds of years, only Emperor Qing was able to claim the title of Emperor. This already showed how difficult it was to reach the Emperor realm. His gaze paused on Lu Hantian's face. A trace of hesitation appeared on Zhuowen's face. In fact, what he wanted to ask now was what happened in the last Vitality Tower battle. Why was there such a big contrast between the rumors and the Lu Hantian he saw now? Boy, looking at you, you should have something to say, right? Just say it. I, your big brother, will do my best to answer. Lu Hantian noticed Zhuowen's hesitation and said generously. Actually, what I want to ask is, what happened in the Vitality Tower battle? Rumor has it that you escaped from the Blood Demon's inheritance and died suddenly in the house of Marquis Qin. However, it seems that this rumor is obviously not true. What exactly happened in the past? After thinking over and over again, Zhuan finally asked this question. Unexpectedly, Lu Hantian's face froze and instantly became gloomy. He sighed softly and said, "Don't mention this matter. It's already in the past. You will naturally know after we leave the Vitality Tower. It's not convenient for me to answer now." Seeing Lu Hantian's face change greatly, Yuan became more and more puzzled. However, he also knew that since Lu Hantian did not want to say more, he naturally did not need to ask more. Let's go. Let's go to the Blood Demon's lair. There should be a passage out of this space in his lair. Moreover, this Blood Demon has a lot of good things. When the time comes, we can split it half. Chapter 569. Blood Demon's lair. In the center of the island, there was a blood-colored desert that spanned thousands of miles. As the wind blew, the blood-colored sand filled the sky. Bush. Two figures flew in the air and looked down at the vast blood-colored desert. This is the Blood Demon's lair? But looking at it now, there's nothing. Zhuowen frowned as he looked around at the desolate desert. The Blood Demon is much more cunning than us humans. How could they build their lair on the ground? I've been in contact with the Blood Demon for nearly 100 years. I've already deduced that the Blood Demon's lair is under the desert. Back then, we weren't a match for the Blood Demon, so we didn't enter the desert to investigate. But now that the Blood Demon has been sealed, we don't have to worry anymore. Look at how I'm going to break open this desert. Lu Hantian laughed as he stomped on the air. A blood spear that was hundreds of feet long instantly condensed under his feet. Go! With a stomp, the blood spear pierced through the air and smashed into the center of the desert. Instantly, sand and stones flew everywhere. The blood spear actually pierced a black hole that was hundreds of feet long. Let's go! Let's go in! After the black hole formed, Lu Hantian immediately led Zhuowen into the depths of the desert. The two of them advanced for half a day in the black hole. After diving for at least a few thousand feet, they finally reached the end. In the depths of the ground, there was a huge space. This space was filled with blood-colored roots. The strange thing was that these roots were like a pulse that constantly pulsed. In the middle of the space, a blood-colored round egg that was dozens of feet in size stood quietly. A strange heartbeat sound was continuously being emitted from the blood-colored round egg. Blood Demon's origin? I didn't expect the Blood Demon's origin to exist in the Blood Demon's lair. The reason why the Blood Demon spent so much effort to stay in the core area was to cultivate the Blood Demon's origin. When Lu Hantian's gaze focused on the blood-colored egg, he couldn't help but exclaim. Obviously, this egg had a great impact on him. Otherwise, he wouldn't reveal such an expression. Who would have thought that the Blood Demon's origin would exist in the Blood Demon's nest? Kid, you have to help me. If I can absorb this Blood Devil's origin, it will be enough to repair most of my spiritual body. The instant Lu Hantian cried out in surprise, Xiao Hei also cried out in Zhuowen's mind. Her voice was so loud that Zhuan could not help but cover his ears with both hands. Zhuan knew that for Lu Hantian and Xiao Hei to be so moved, this blood devil's origin was probably not simple. Don't worry. If this thing is useful to you, I will help you. Zhuan nodded as he spoke to Xiao Hei in his heart. What exactly is this blood devil's origin? Xiao Hei also realized that she was too agitated. She calmed herself down and said, the so-called blood devil's origin is actually the core power of the blood devils. As long as this blood devil's origin still exists, the blood devils are immortal and indestructible. The blood devil that you sealed just now was probably just a powerful doppelganger of the blood devil. The real blood devil should be inside this egg. Just a doppelganger is that powerful? This blood devil is indeed terrifying. However, if the blood devil's real body is inside, won't we be in danger? Zhuowen's eyes flickered as he asked worriedly. Don't worry. Since this blood devil's origin is still in the form of an egg, it means that the blood devil's real body is still in a deep slumber. Moreover, it is still extremely weak. Only when it breaks out of the egg will the blood devil's real body become extremely terrifying. Xiao Hei shook her head. Hearing this, Zhuowen completely relaxed. According to Xiao Hei's words, there was no need to be afraid of the blood devil's origin now. The blood devil is indeed cunning. It actually left its origin in its nest. It really is an unkillable cockroach. Watch me destroy you. Lu Hantian obviously knew how powerful the blood devil's origin was. With a cold snort, a blood spear condensed in his hand. With a clang, it directly pierced towards the blood-colored egg in front of him. Zhuan also did not expect Lu Hantian to suddenly make a move. He secretly cursed in his heart, but it was already too late to stop it. Boom! The blood spear smashed onto the egg, causing the space to collapse and the air to flow backwards. However, what surprised Zhuan was that the blood-colored egg did not move at all. On the other hand, Lu Hantian continuously retreated. What the sturdy egg! Stopping his body, Lu Hantian's face was filled with shock and anger. On the other hand, Zhuan lightly sighed. He knew that Xiao Hei had a way to deal with the blood devil's origin. If it was destroyed by Lu Hantian, Xiao Hei would probably be flustered and exasperated. Big brother Hantian, let me try. Perhaps I can deal with this blood devil's origin. Zhuowen suddenly opened his mouth. You? Lu Hantian was taken aback. Soon after, he shook his head and said, It's not that I'm looking down on you. It's just that you're too weak. If even I can't break this egg, I'm afraid you won't be able to either. Won't you know once you try? Wen faintly smiled. Soon after, he walked towards the blood devil's origin in the center. Lu Hantian shook his head. He naturally did not believe that Zhuan could destroy the blood devil's origin. After all, he was a heavenly venerate powerhouse, while Zhuan was merely an ultimate emperor realm cultivator. The difference between the two was too great. Zhuan arrived in front of the blood-colored egg. He stretched out his right hand and pressed it against the egg's surface. At the same time, a faintly discernible inky black mist drilled into the egg from Zhuowen's palm. The black mist was naturally formed by Xiao Hei. 5 breaths of time passed, but the blood-colored egg did not move at all. Lu Hantian, who was observing from the side, shook his head. Just as he was about to speak, a clear and melodious sound slowly rang out. Crack. Following that, Lu Hantian's pupils shrank. He discovered that the blood-colored egg that was as hard as a rock had shattered just like that. Is there a mistake? I used all my strength and still couldn't break this blood devil's origin. This brat broke it with a light touch. What the hell is going on? After rubbing his eyes and confirming that what he saw was real, Lu Hantian could not help but swear to express the grief and indignation in his heart. The blood-colored egg shattered. There was nothing inside, but a wisp of undetectable black mist slowly rose and entered Zhuowen's body. Brat, thank you very much for this time. This Lord Dragon needs some time to refine this blood devil's origin. Therefore, this Lord Dragon will not appear unless there is something important. Xiao Hei's voice rang out in his mind. However, at this moment, Xiao Hei's voice was filled with excitement. It was obvious that she had gained a lot from the blood-colored egg. Zhuan nodded. He was happy for Xiao He in his heart. Along the way, Xiao He had done a lot for him. She had even used her own origin energy many times. Therefore, Zhuan had always felt a little guilty towards Xiao He. Now that he was able to help Xiao He, Zhuan felt extremely gratified in his heart. Zhuan, how did you do it? Why did this blood-colored egg shatter when you touched it with your hand? This is too inconceivable. Lu Hantian stared at Zhuan and said, I just touched it and the egg broke. Actually, I don't know why either. Shrugging his shoulders, Zhuan made up a lie without batting an eyelid. Lu Hantian did not dwell too much on the Blood Devil's origin. His original intention was to destroy the Blood Devil's origin. Since Yuan had already destroyed it, he naturally did not need to do anything unnecessary. This space was very large. The two of them began to conduct a carpet search. What surprised the two of them was that the amount of resources here far exceeded their imagination. Emperor-tier armor skills, Earth-tier spirit treasures, 5th-grade spirit herbs, and other rare treasures that were rarely seen in the outside world could be found in this space. Even a powerhouse like Lu Hantian couldn't help but suck in a breath of cold air. We're rich. These resources were probably obtained by the Blood Devil from the cultivators over the past 10,000 years and accumulated in this lair. I really did not expect there to be so many. Kid, we'll split it in half. Hurry up and take them. After saying that, Lu Hantian pounced on the resources in the depths of the space without any grace. He looked like a miser. His hands moved so fast that it was dazzling to the point of being dazzled. Zhuan did not have time to react. 1/10 of the resources had already been plundered by Lu Hantian. Zhuan did not hold back. He also pounced on the resources and quickly plundered the resources in front of him. Soon, the resources on the ground had been plundered clean by the two of them. However, Zhuan's Qianquan bag was running out of space. There were still many resources that could not be stored. Lu Hantian's words carried enormous weight. He said that he would take half, and he really took half. Unfortunately, there were still many resources piled up under Zhuan's feet. His Qianquan bag was not small, so he could only pile them up under his feet. Take it. This spirit ring is an even higher grade spatial spirit treasure. The space inside is many times larger than your Qianquan bag. Lu Hantian smiled. With a flick of his finger, a cyan ring immediately shot into Zhuan's palm. Zhuan's expression changed as he looked at the spirit ring in his palm. This spirit ring was extremely famous. It was a spatial soul treasure that could only be refined by 4 Supreme Being stage experts. The space within it was so large that it was almost limitless. Just this spirit ring alone was worth half of the resources in Zhuan's hands. It could be seen how precious and rare this spirit ring was. After all, this was a spiritual treasure that could only be refined by 4 revered experts. Big Brother Hunton, isn't this too precious? Zhuan said with some hesitation. Take it. Since you call me Big Brother, then I, as your Big Brother, have not given you a greeting gift. This spirit ring can be considered a greeting gift. If you treat me as a brother, then don't be polite with me. Lu Hantian said solemnly with a wave of his sleeve. All right then. Seeing Lu Hantian's resolute attitude, Zhuan could only accept the spirit ring. After dripping a drop of blood, Zhuan's heart moved. Immediately, all the resources under his feet were placed into the spirit ring space. This spirit ring space was indeed much larger than his Qianquan bag. In the future, Zhuan would not have to worry about the space being too small and not being able to take too many things. There are several spaces in the Blood Demon's lair. This is only one of them. Let's continue to search. Maybe we can find other good things. Chapter 570. How lucky! The Blood Demon's lair was indeed huge. Furthermore, it was split into many smaller spaces. Although the space barrier was sturdy, Zhuan had a heavenly venerate powerhouse like Lu Hantian by his side. Thus, the space barrier wasn't a problem. Most of the spaces inside were basically empty. There were even some spaces that contained quite a number of ancient Blood Clan members. However, Lu Hantian only needed to flick his finger and these Blood Clan members would basically collapse and dissipate. They couldn't even withstand a single blow. It seems like most of the spaces in the Blood Demon's lair are abandoned. Lu Hantian said with a frown as the two figures stood in front of one of the spaces. There are still 2 spaces left. Let's take one each. If you encounter any danger, just call out to me. Lu Hantian instructed Zhuan. His figure flashed and he directly entered the space entrance on the left. The exit to leave the Blood Demon's lair should be in one of these 2 spaces. Zhuan stood there quietly. There were 2 vortex entrances in front of him. These 2 were the last 2 spaces in the Blood Demon's lair. Let's take a look on the right. After saying that, Zhuan directly entered the vortex entrance on the right. As soon as he stepped in, the space around him changed. Zhuan only felt his vision blur and the scenery before him became extremely unfamiliar. This space was an underground cliff. Below the cliff, a stream of magma that looked like the Milky Way of the 9 heavens was constantly boiling. The blazing magma surged up, releasing a terrifying heat. Above the magma, 3 balls of light were suspended. When Zhuan's gaze focused on the 3 balls of light, he was completely stunned. This was because within the first 2 balls of light, there were actually 2 balls of flames of different colors. The first ball of flame was completely white with a hint of blue in between. What made Zhuan even more surprised was that this white flame was actually emitting a cold aura. It was as if what was in front of him wasn't a ball of flame, but a ball of 10,000-year-old mysterious ice. The second ball of flame was like a purple mist. As it burned, balls of purple mist constantly revolved around it. Moreover, a strange fragrance slowly dissipated from the purple mist, causing Zhuan's eyes to appear intoxicated. 9 nether cold flame and purple chi from the east. The 2 balls of flames above the balls of light were actually earth fires. Moreover, their might was comparable to the blood flames. Kid, your luck is pretty good to actually encounter 2 types of earth fires here. The 9 nether cold flame and purple chi from the east aren't bad. If you use the fire fusion art, you will be able to fuse the 6-colored refined fire, and its might be powerful. In his sea of consciousness, Xiaohei also noticed the 2 types of earth fires above the magma and couldn't help but click his tongue in wonder. Nodding his head, Zhuan's eyes were filled with a blazing light. The fire fusion art was a peculiar secret spiritual skill that he had obtained from a tattered cloth. It could fuse 9 types of earth fires into the legendary extremely powerful heavenly fire. It was said that the heavenly fire was a kind of powerful energy that was comparable to the 4 venerables realm. Zhuan knew that if he could really fuse the heavenly fire, even if his strength hadn't reached the 4 venerables realm, he would still have the strength to fight against the 4 venerables realm experts. However, for an expert who stood at the peak of the 4 venerables realm like Lu Hantian, a mere heavenly fire wouldn't be able to threaten him. However, the 4 venerables realm was divided into 4 subrealms. For a heavenly venerables like Lu Hantian, the heavenly fire might not be able to do anything to him. However, the lowest level of the Xuanzuan realm would probably be threatened by the heavenly fire. Therefore, Zhuan was looking forward to the fire fusion art. If he could gather 9 types of earth fires and fuse them into the heavenly fire, then his strength would be considered to be at the peak of the Muqin County. These 2 types of earth fires seem to be ownerless. I should be able to slowly subdue them with the holy symbol of ice fire. With a flicker of his eyes, Zhuan's mind moved. Suddenly, the holy symbol of fire on the back of his right hand emitted a blazing light. The power of the holy symbol was fully displayed. The 2 types of earth fires above the magma seemed to have felt the powerful aura of the holy symbol of fire. They actually trembled at the same time, as if they were worshipping an emperor. They didn't dare to resist at all. Bush, 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 bush. The 9 serenities cold flame and purple cloud above the magma whimpered as they drilled into the holy symbol of fire. They were like long-lost sons that had suddenly found their family. They actually showed a joyful and excited expression. Even Zhuan couldn't help but be astonished that the 2 types of earth fires had been so easily subdued. When he had subdued the first type of earth fire, he had exhausted himself. Why were these 2 types of earth fires so docile now? You don't have to be surprised. Back then, your holy symbol of ice fire was incomplete. Its aura was weak, so it was naturally much more difficult to subdue the earth fires. However, you now have 4 types of earth fires in your body, as well as the extremely strong extreme cold ice. These ice and fire energies have imperceptibly strengthened the aura of the holy symbol of ice fire. The holy symbol of ice fire is originally a mysterious object of heaven and earth. It controls the ice and fire energies of heaven and earth. Once its aura is fully released, it is a very normal phenomenon for all flames to worship it. It was rare for Xiao He to give an explanation, which solved the doubts in Zhuowen's heart. After subduing the 2 types of earth fires, Zhuowen's gaze shifted slightly and landed on the 3rd ball of light. He knew that since the first 2 balls of light were mysterious objects like the earth fires, then the object in the 3rd ball of light wouldn't be any worse. In the 3rd ball of light, there was a sparkling and translucent red lotus that looked like it had been carved out of jade. A rippling brilliance flowed on its surface. It was indescribably mystical. This is the lotus bathing fire? It's actually the lotus bathing fire. Zhuan couldn't help but exclaim in surprise as he stared at the sparkling and translucent red lotus in the ball of light. His face was filled with ecstasy. The lotus bathing fire was a top-quality Tier 5 spirit herb. It was said that it could allow an ultimate Emperor Realm cultivator to advance by a small realm in a short period of time, saving a cultivator a lot of time in cultivation. Zhuan didn't expect to see such a precious spirit herb here. With bloodshot eyes, Zhuan waved his right hand and a yuanli palm directly grabbed the lotus bathing fire in the ball of light. Holding it in his palm, a dense fire spirit qi shone brightly. Zhuan took a light breath and his entire body instantly felt refreshed as his bones cracked. Zhuan, I found the exit. It's in this space of mine. Come to me quickly. Suddenly, a sonorous voice passed through the space barrier and into Zhuowen's mind. It was Lu Hantian's voice. The exit is indeed in the space on the left. Muttering to himself, Zhuan placed the lotus bathing fire in his spirit ring and took a step forward, directly leaving this place and entering the space on the left. In the vast space, there were numerous Blood Clan corpses scattered all around. Lu Hantian stood silently in the center of the corpses, his gaze focused on the bloody vortex in front of him. Within the blood-colored vortex, Zhuowen sensed a familiar aura. It was the aura of the 4th floor of the Essence Chi Tower's Land of Legacy. Zhuowen knew that the blood-colored vortex was the exit. Sure enough, the heavens reward those who wait. We finally found the exit. Jun, did you find anything in the other space? Lu Hantian turned around and asked excitedly. After staying in the Blood Demon inheritance for nearly 100 years, Lu Hantian no longer wanted to endure the loneliness and loneliness. Now that he could see the light of day, how could he not be excited? Nodding, Zhuan briefly explained the situation in the space on the right, including the 9 nether cold flame, purple qi from the east, and lotus bathing fire. Zhuan could feel that Lu Hantian truly treated him as a brother, so he didn't hide anything from Lu Hantian. 2 types of earth fire and lotus bathing fire. Brat, your luck is really good. Lu Hantian revealed a surprised expression at first, but then he revealed a sincere smile and patted Zhuowen's shoulder. His eyes flashing, and suddenly said, Big brother Hantan, now that I've obtained the lotus bathing fire, I want to stay in this space for a while longer and break through to the ultimate Emperor realm in one go. After all, the 9 countries war is about to begin, so I need to increase my strength as soon as possible. Lu Hantian nodded and said, Since you want to stay, your big brother will stay with you. After all, I'm a heavenly venerable realm powerhouse, so I can give you a lot of advice on your cultivation path. Zhuan smiled, but his heart was filled with warmth. He was very clear how urgently Lu Hantian wanted to leave this place. After all, he had been trapped here for nearly 100 years. That kind of loneliness and solitude was enough to make him yearn for life in the outside world. However, for Zhuan, Lu Hantian still decided to stay. It could be seen how much Lu Hantian cared about his brother, Big brother Hantian. Many thanks. Zhuan cupped his hands and said solemnly, All right, there's no need to be so polite between us. Hurry up and refine the Lotus Bathing Fire. Although the Lotus Bathing Fire can raise an ultimate Emperor Realm powerhouse's cultivation by a small realm, you're only at the early stage of the ultimate Emperor Realm. If you want to reach the ultimate Emperor Realm, you'll need at least 3 months. Take your time. After saying that, Lu Hantian found a random corner and sat cross-legged on the ground, silently cultivating. Meanwhile, Jun took out the Lotus Bathing Fire from his Qiankuan bag and began to focus on refining the rich fire's spiritual energy within. In the blink of an eye, a month had passed. Outside the Yuan Qi Tower, countless people were staring at the 6 names on the light screen. They all wanted to know how many of these 6 people would be able to truly obtain the acknowledgement of the inheritance and obtain the inheritance within. On the high platform, Lu Nantian had his hands behind his back. He raised his head and focused his gaze on the top of the Origin Qi Tower. He said with anticipation, "It's already been a month. Normally, the results of the ancient inheritance should be out by now." On the high platform, the master of the meteorite, Qin Ye, and the others were also waiting with anticipation. At this moment, they were all rather nervous. The ancient inheritance wasn't something that could be obtained with a 100% success rate. If one couldn't pass the trials inside, they would usually be eliminated from the ancient inheritance and obtain nothing. Boom! Under countless expectant gazes, a pillar of light like a blazing sun descended from the sky. A stifling sound of something breaking through the air exploded in the sky. Chapter 571. Anticipation and Disappointment. Was it the handsome young man in white, LV Tao, the eldest son of Muqin County? LV Tao took a light step and instantly arrived on the high platform. He cupped his hands towards LV Nantian and said in a clear voice, "Lord Father, Itao was fortunate enough to complete the mission and successfully obtain the inheritance of the heaven-class Tiangang sect. Good. As expected of my good son, you didn't disappoint me." Lu Nantian held LV Tao up with both hands and a smile on his face. He was very pleased to have such a son. Moreover, he could feel that LV Tao's aura had become much stronger. He was probably at the peak of the ultimate 5-wheel Emperor realm. He knew that all of this was due to the inheritance of the Tiangang sect. Countless people stared at LV Tao with envy. They all knew that LV Tao's future would be limitless after obtaining the ancient inheritance. At the very least, he would be able to reach the Quad Venerable Realm. It was only a matter of time before he surpassed Lu Nantian. Not long after LV Tao appeared, another stream of light flashed across the sky. A stone statue with an equally powerful aura descended from the sky and landed not far from the middle-aged stone statue. It stood there quietly. "Luo Xing is here too." The corners of LV Tao's mouth revealed a trace of a smile as he looked at the beautiful figure on the stone statue of the young lady in a gauze gown not far away. Luo Xing landed on the platform like a butterfly dancing in a field of flowers. She bowed politely to the authoritative figures and walked straight towards the master of the meteorite. At this moment, the master of the meteorite's face was filled with excitement. She knew that Luo Xing had also obtained the Heaven Stage Jade Lake Immortal Garden. This inheritance was not inferior to LV Tao's Tiangang sect. With the appearance of LV Tao and Luo Xing, the remaining 3 stone statues flew across the sky and landed in the center of the square. The remaining 3 had all successfully obtained their respective inheritances. None of them had failed. Such a perfect result naturally made LV Nantian grin from ear to ear. In previous years, when the geniuses in the Yuan Qi Tower battle received the ancient inheritance, there would be a few who failed and were eliminated. However, this time, no one was eliminated. From this, it could be seen that the potential of this batch of geniuses was indeed enormous. It is Muqin County's fortune to be able to produce 5 such geniuses. I'm afraid that Muqin County might be able to obtain a good ranking in the upcoming 9 counties war. LV Nantian couldn't help but think happily when he saw the 3 inheritances descending at the same time. After all, Qin Lian, and Ling Wushuang, Qin Badian, and Qing Studio. The 3 ofs, Studio, and Ling Wushuang, and Nantian Li Yinxiang. Qing Lian's, in particular, Nantian Li's, Nantian Li'in, was only at the mid-stage of the ultimate emperor stage. Her strength was at the bottom of the group. But now, Qing Lian's aura was so strong that even Ling Wushuang and Qin Badian, who were beside her, felt extremely wary. Moreover, with every step Qing Lian took, the aura within her body would stir up the surrounding wind, forming an unconscious sword qi. She looked like a peerless sword that had just been unsheathed. It seems that the wind sword sect is indeed very suitable for Qing Lian. This girl must have obtained many benefits from the wind sword sect's inheritance. Feeling the fierce aura of Qing Lian in front of her, the master of Falling Star Garden grinned from ear to ear. Among the 5 inheritances, her Jade Lady Astral Court had occupied 2 places. Moreover, both Luo Xing and Qing Lian had succeeded in obtaining the inheritances. Such a result undoubtedly brought her great surprise. After Qing Lian, Ling Wushuang, and Qin Batian exchanged greetings with their respective leaders, they each stood on one side of the high platform and waited silently. They were all waiting for the last figure to descend. At this moment, whether it was the 4 squares or the central high platform, everyone involuntarily raised their heads and focused their gazes on the huge light screen. At this moment, LV Tao, Luo Xing, and the other 4 names on the light screen had all dimmed, leaving only a line of blood-red words that appeared alone on the light screen. Zhuan, the Blood Devil's inheritance, an ancient sacred being. Senior sister, do you think Zhuan can pass the Blood Devil's inheritance? Qing Lian stood beside Luo Xing, her beautiful eyes fixed on the line of blood-red words on the light screen. Her voice trembled as she spoke. Hearing this, Luo Xing's delicate body trembled. Her beautiful eyes were filled with complex emotions as she stared at the light screen. She sighed softly and said, "The Blood Devil's inheritance is known as the most terrifying and dangerous inheritance in the land of inheritance. Even the number 1 genius of Muqin County, Lu Hantian, fell because of this inheritance. I'm afraid that it will be very difficult for Zhuan to pass." At this point, Luo Xing suddenly could not continue speaking. She did not know why, but she kept feeling a little stuffy in her chest. This was especially so when she recalled the stubborn figure that had calmly met her gaze and rejected her invitation. The stuffy feeling in her chest became even more intense. Qing Lian's delicate body trembled slightly. Her gaze was firm as she said, "Senior sister, you don't understand Zhuan. I believe that he will definitely pass the Blood Devil's inheritance and appear in front of us in a powerful manner. I believe." Luo Xing became silent when she heard Qing Lian's hopeful words. She did not refute, nor did she want to refute. Actually, in her heart, she also hoped that Qing Lian was right. However, reality was cruel at times. With an indifferent expression, LV Tao's white clothes fluttered in the wind. His hands were behind his back as he quietly stared at the light screen. His good-looking eyebrows were slightly furrowed. He was extremely expectant in his heart. Would Zhuan be able to bring the stone statue of the Blood Devil's inheritance to this place? Ling Wushuang and Qin Badian were also silently paying attention. Along the way, the 2 of them had already wholeheartedly accepted Zhuan. Moreover, Zhuan's strength had already been deeply imprinted in their hearts. Everyone raised their heads in anticipation and longing. They really wanted to see if Zhuan would be able to walk out of the Yuan Qi Tower alive. They wanted to see if this unknown dark horse would be able to once again break the record of the Yuan Qi Tower battle and obtain the Blood Devil's inheritance. Time passed second by second, but there was not the slightest movement from the Yuan Qi Tower. Gradually, many people in the plaza revealed looks of disappointment. Some people even began to whisper to each other. The Blood Devil's inheritance is after all the most terrifying inheritance in the inheritance ground. I'm afraid that Zhuan has already fallen in the inheritance ground. What you said makes sense. Back then, Lu Hantian also fell because of the Blood Devil's inheritance. This Zhuan's strength is much weaker than Lu Hantian's, so the chances of him falling is very high. Gradually, many voices of doubt rose in the surroundings. Everyone had already begun to suspect that Zhuan had already fallen in the inheritance ground. On the high platform, the corner of Su Chang's mouth revealed a trace of ridicule as he said indifferently, "Brother Lu, You should be very clear about the danger of the Blood Devil's inheritance. Back then, even Senior Han Tian had fallen because of it. This Zhuowen's strength is even weaker than Senior Han Tian's, so his fall is inevitable. I think we don't need to wait any longer. Let's just announce the result. As soon as Su Chang's words came out, a few people on the high platform frowned. However, they all knew that Su Chang and Zhuowen had quite a bit of enmity, so they didn't say much. Instead, they looked at Lu Nantian. They knew that the decision was up to Lu Nantian. It hasn't been long. Just because Yuan hasn't come out doesn't mean that he has fallen. Isn't Marquis Su being too arbitrary? Suddenly, Gu Yutian, who had been silent, spoke up. At this moment, Gu Yutian's mood was rather irritable. As the city lord of Vine Armor City, his mood naturally wasn't good when Zhuowen still hadn't appeared. Seeing that Su Chang had started to squeeze Zhuowen, he naturally wasn't happy. Who do you think you are? You're just the city lord of a small, low-level city. How dare you make irresponsible remarks in front of this marquis? You really don't know the difference between life and death. Su Chang's gaze was gloomy and cold. He clapped his right hand and a powerful aura suddenly erupted. He actually directly slammed his palm towards Gu Yutian's head. This palm was extremely terrifying. It was obvious that he wanted to kill Gu Yutian directly. At this moment, Gu Yutian's face was filled with both shock and anger. He also didn't expect that Su Chang would directly kill him with just a few words. He couldn't help but feel a chill in his heart. LV Nantian frowned slightly. With a flick of his finger, a powerful force blasted onto Su Chang's arm, directly neutralizing Su Chang's attack. Brother Su, I know what you mean. Although the Blood Devil inheritance is terrifying, that Zhuowen isn't simple. Perhaps he might come out alive. Let's wait for 3 more days. If Zhuowen doesn't come out in 3 days, I will announce the end of this year's Vitality Pagoda battle, Lu Nantian said loudly. Su Chang rubbed his slightly numb arm and glanced at Lu Nantian with some fear. Soon after, he glared fiercely at Gu Yutian and said, "You better watch your dog mouth in the future. Don't think that a lowly guy like you can compare to us just because your small Rattan Armor City produced that Zhuowen. Moreover, it's still unknown whether that Zhuowen will be able to walk out of the Vitality Pagoda." At this point, Su Chang no longer paid any attention to Gu Yutian, who had an ugly expression, and stood silently on the platform. Gu Yutian's eyes were filled with anger, but he didn't dare to vent it. After all, Su Chang was the noble Marquis Baichuan and a powerful ultimate emperor. Whether it was status or strength, Su Chang was far above him. Offending such a person was no different from striking a rock with an egg. The others on the platform didn't say anything and just watched silently. They really didn't think much of Gu Yutian. If that Zhuowen could bring out an inheritance, they could speak politely to Gu Yutian. However, the problem now was that Zhuowen had chosen the Blood Devil inheritance. If he wasn't careful, his life would be in danger. The chances of him dying were too high. And if Zhuowen really died, then Gu Yutian was worthless to them. Chapter 572. Revenge, what a pity. The genius that defeated Su Tianliang and Zhu Qi in succession has fallen just like that. If Zhuowen wasn't so arrogant, he would have already obtained an inheritance. However, he chose the Blood Devil inheritance. This is simply courting death. It's normal for him to fall. For the past 3 days, Zhuowen, whom everyone had been anticipating, had not appeared. Everyone knew that Zhuowen had most likely fallen in the Blood Devil inheritance. Clamor, pity, and even mockery rose and fell one after another, slowly resounding in the surroundings. On the high platform, Gu Yutian clenched his fists. Due to using too much strength, his knuckles were exposed and his face was as pale as snow. He knew that something bad would happen when Zhuowen chose the Blood Devil inheritance. But all along, Zhuowen's domineering performance had caused Gu Yutian to have blind confidence in Zhuowen. Therefore, he had always hoped that Zhuowen would be able to obtain the Blood Devil's inheritance and appear outside the Yuanqi Tower with all the glory. But in these 3 days, this trace of hope had already been worn away. He had already realized that perhaps Zhuowen had really fallen. On the high platform, Su Chang revealed a smile and said to Lu Nantian, "Brother Lu, 3 days have passed. 3 days have already passed. It's unlikely that Zhuowen will come out alive. Let's announce the results. Then, I've already fought for 3 days for you. This can be considered as being extremely benevolent. Since you still haven't come out, I'm afraid that you've really fallen in there. Lu Nantian took a final glance at the Origin Tower and sighed. He said in a clear voice, the long Origin Tower battle has finally come to an end. Everyone already knows that the 5 ancient inheritances are Lu Yitao, Luo Xing, Qing Lian, Qin Badian, and Ling Wushuang. These 5 people have the opportunity to directly participate in the Great War of the 9 Counties. As you all know, there are only 100 spots for the Great War of the 9 Counties. Lu Nantian's voice was like thunder. It was loud and clear and shook the sky. It had the demeanor and aura of a supreme master, causing everyone in the surroundings to feel deep veneration. This was the strength of the number 1 master in Muqin County. Ear-piercing sounds could be heard from all around the square as nearly 100 young martial artists arrived at the foot of the high platform. Their eyes were blazing as they looked up at Lu Nantian. I am the Lord of Muqin County, Lu Nantian, the Marquis of Muqin. All of you are the most talented elites of Muqin County. If you want to participate in the War of the 9 Counties, then you can temporarily come under my House of Marquis Qin and represent Muqin County in the War of the 9 Counties. Are you willing? Lu Nantian slowly swept his gaze over the people below and spoke in a clear voice. I'm willing. I'm willing. Loud voices resounded in the sky above the square. Everyone's eyes were blazing as they stared at Lu Nantian. The Great Battle of the 9 Countries was the most prestigious event in the Qing Xian Empire. Everyone knew that every time the Great Battle of the 9 Countries was held, the ranking of the Qing Xian Empire would be reshuffled. The Qing Emperor ranking was famous in Qing Xian Empire. It represented the countless geniuses of the younger generation. As long as one could enter the top 100 of the Qing Emperor ranking, one would represent the top combat strength of all the geniuses in Qing Xian Empire and enjoy endless fame and benefits. It was said that in the War of the 9 Counties, if one could enter the top 3 of the Qing Emperor ranking, he would be personally conferred the title of Marquis by the Qing Emperor. He would be directly promoted to an official position and protect his family. The Marquis conferred by the Qing Emperor was not like the Marquis of Baichuan, Suchang, or the Marquis of Yongxing, Qinye, but the Marquis of the Imperial Capital. The Marquis of the Imperial Capital was much higher than the Marquis of the Imperial Capital in terms of status and power. Even Lu Nantian, the Lord of the 9 Counties, had a lower status than the Marquis of the Imperial Capital. In addition, if one could make it into the top 10 of the Azure Emperor leaderboard in the Battle of the 9 Counties, they could also receive the Azure Emperor's personal blessing to increase their cultivation. This kind of Emperor power level blessing did not have any side effects. One blessing was equivalent to 10 years of cultivation. It was obvious how tempting this blessing was. Other than the top 10 geniuses, those who could enter the Qing Emperor ranking would also be rewarded by the imperial family. The rewards were all extremely precious and rare items. It was because of these benefits that everyone in Qing Xian Empire attached great importance to the War of the 9 Counties, to the point of fanaticism. Lu Nantian nodded his head in satisfaction as he looked at the loud cheers of the geniuses below. He continued, joining my Muqin County is only temporary. After the War of the 9 Counties is over, you can still decide whether to stay or leave. Before the War of the 9 Counties, the House of Marquis Qin will do its best to nurture you and help you reach the peak of your strength. Pension. The War of the 9 Counties is less than half a year away. I hope you can use this time to cultivate. I am looking forward to your performance in the War of the 9 Counties. After finishing his words, Lu Nantian waved his sleeve and left the Vitality Tower with the geniuses. He had to return to the House of Marquis Qin to arrange for these geniuses. If he wanted to achieve a good result in the War of the 9 Counties, he had to nurture these geniuses well. He had to achieve a good result in the War of the 9 Counties. The departure of the geniuses did not cause any dissatisfaction from the leaders of the factions that they belonged to. They all knew that their geniuses joining the House of Marquis Qin was only temporary. After the War of the Nine Counties, these geniuses would return to their factions. Even if these geniuses decided to join the House of Marquis Qin, it would only be beneficial to them. Furthermore, the House of Marquis Qin would take care of their factions, which would be beneficial to their development. Elvitao nodded his head at Luo Xing and the others. He stomped his foot and left with Lu Nantian. 3 days had passed. In his opinion, Zhuowen's fate was no different from that of Lu Hantian. Naturally, he would not waste his time here. After Lu Nantian and the others left, Su Chang and Qin Ye also left the Vitality Tower with their own people. Looking at the motionless Luo Xing and Qin Lian on the high platform, the master of the meteorite sighed and said, "Let's go too." Qin Lian, Luo Xing, I'm afraid that Zhuan won't be able to come out. At this time, Qin Lian's gaze was fixed on the light screen. A bitter smile appeared on the corners of her mouth as she said, "Master, I want to stay here for a while. Let me have some peace and quiet." Luo Xing, who was beside Qin Lian, said to the master of the meteorite, "Master, I'll stay here with junior martial sister. I'll persuade her." Hearing this, the master of the meteorite could only nod her head helplessly and pat Qin Lian's fragrant shoulder. She knew that Qin Lian's inheritance was given to her by Zhuan. She probably had a favorable impression of Zhuan. After the master of the meteorite garden left, the other people in the surrounding 4 large plazas also dispersed. They clearly knew that Zhuowen had definitely died and there was no longer any meaning for them to continue staying in this place. In just an instant, the originally bustling square had become much more deserted. Only Luo Xing and Qin Lian were left on the high platform, silently watching the Origin Qi Tower that was no longer moving. Guyu Tian glanced at Luo Xing and Qin Lian, shook his head, and jumped off the high platform. He prepared to leave the prefecture capital with Gu Exayan and Hu Wing. He didn't expect the final result to be like this. He'd originally thought that Rat-Tan Armor City would be able to shake up the entire Muqing County by relying on Zhuowen's power and influence. It might even be able to rise from a low-level city to a super city because of this. However, all of this had died with Zhuowen's death. Even the very enthusiastic Lu Nantian didn't even look at him before he left. Guyu Tian knew very well that everyone's enthusiasm had been because of Zhun. Now that Zhuowen's whereabouts were unknown, naturally no one would be nice to him. "Where do you 3 from Rat-Tan Armor City want to go?" An untimely voice slowly rang out just as Guyu Tian and the others were about to leave. After that, Guyu Tian and the others saw that more than 10 people had gathered in front of them at some unknown time. Moreover, their auras surged. They were all half-step Ultimate Emperor Realm cultivators. Their leader's aura was as powerful as the ocean. He was actually a first-wheel Ultimate Emperor Realm cultivator. "You're from the House of Marquis Baichuan? What do you want?" Gu Exayan immediately recognized that these people were from the House of Marquis Baichuan. Her expression changed slightly as she questioned them. "What do we want?" "Heh, your Rat-Tan Armor City has really raised a good genius. That Zhuowen's strength is indeed heaven-defying. Unfortunately, that boundlessly arrogant brat not only killed our second prince in the Yuanqi Tower, but also severely injured our first prince. Now that bastard Zhuowen's arrogance has caused him to fall in the inheritance of the blood demon, it's naturally time for the 3 of you to settle this debt." Heh. The leader of the group was a middle-aged man with a sinister expression. At this moment, a trace of a cruel smile appeared on his lips as he walked step by step towards Guyu Tian and the others. "What?" Guyu Tian and the others' expressions changed drastically when they heard this. They hadn't expected that Zhuan would actually kill the second prince of the House of Marquis Baichuan. This was equivalent to sowing a blood feud. Their hearts sank. "So you'd better obediently accept your deaths." The middle-aged man chuckled. He clapped his right hand in the air. Immediately, an enormous palm of several hundred feet slammed down towards the 3 of them. Its power was so strong that even the surrounding earth trembled. This person was planning to kill them. "Let's do it. The 3 of us will attack together." Gu Exen was the strongest of the 3. Thanks to Zhuowen's help, she and Hu Wuing had both reached the half-step Ultimate Emperor realm. Although this person was only a first-wheel Ultimate Emperor, the 3 of them might be able to defeat him if they worked together. Boom boom boom. The three of them worked together and unleashed their strongest moves at the same time. Immediately, a five-colored brilliance condensed and blasted towards the enormous palm in the sky. However, what shocked Gu Xin and the others was that their attacks couldn't even shake the palm at all. Instead, they shattered into pieces like tofu pudding. You're just 3 ants. You'd better obediently accept your deaths. Chapter 573. Enforcement Elder, it's over. Gu Xin and the other two looked at the giant palm in the sky with despair. They knew that an ultimate Emperor stage cultivator was too powerful and was not someone they could fight against. Boom! Just as the palm from above was about to descend, an even more powerful force burst forth and blasted on the palm, directly blasting the huge palm into smithereens. Who's it? How dare you ruin our House of Baichuan's business? The sinister-looking man's face darkened when his palm was destroyed. He turned his head and stared coldly to the side. He saw a group of more than 10 people slowly walking over from the side. The person walking at the front was a middle-aged man with sharp eyes like an eagle. Beside the middle-aged man was a young man with an elegant temperament. He wore a white robe and held a folding fan in his hand. Senior Chiu Cho. Looking at the group of people slowly walking over, Gu Tian and the other two revealed expressions of relief. At the same time, their hearts were filled with gratitude. They were very clear that Chiu Cho and the rest of the people from Broken Rock City were only on good terms with Zhuowen and had nothing to do with them. Originally, they thought that after Zhuowen's whereabouts were unknown, the people from Broken Rock City would act like the others and not take the three of them seriously. But now, it seemed that they were completely wrong. The strongest person in Broken Rock City, Chiu Cho? The shadowy man looked at Chiu Cho's group, and his eyes were filled with fear. Chiu Cho was quite famous in Muqing County, and he was an ultimate Emperor Realm 4-wheeled cultivator. Furthermore, he was extremely daring and dared to do anything. Many people were unwilling to offend a madman like him. Chiu Cho, do you plan to go against our House of Baichuan? Although Broken Rock City is a super city, it's nothing compared to our House of Baichuan. The sinister-looking man stared at Chiu Cho and threatened coldly. Get lost. Or die. When Chiu Cho arrived beside Gu Tian and the other two, his words stunned the sinister-looking man and the others. What did you say? How dare you insult me and look down on our House of Baichuan? Chiu Cho, I think you must be tired of living. Do you believe that our 100 Rivers Marquee residents will directly destroy your Broken Rock City and kill? The gloomy man hadn't finished speaking when Chiu Cho had already made a move. Chiu Cho stomped his foot and instantly arrived before the gloomy man. His right hand formed into a claw and suddenly grabbed onto the man's neck, and then he exerted force and directly tossed the man away like a little chick. Poochie! The gloomy man spat out a mouthful of blood as he was sent flying dozens of meters away. He crashed heavily onto the ground, his entire body twitching in pain. The dozen or so people that the shady man brought along stared blankly at the shady man, who was twitching like a dead dog, dozens of meters away. All of them lowered their heads and did not dare to make a sound. This Chiu Cho was too ruthless. He clearly knew that they were from the Baichuan Marquee Mansion, yet he still dared to act so recklessly. They did not dare to offend such a lunatic. Chiu Cho, you're finished, and so is your Broken Rock City. Those who offend our Baichuan Marquee Manor will not have a good ending. The shadowy man rolled a few times on the ground and scolded Chiu Cho with a ferocious expression. You're the one who's looking for death. Then you'd better die. Chiu Cho sneered. He stomped his foot, and the aura of a peak ultimate Emperor Realm cultivator surged out. He pressed his right hand into the air, and immediately, a gigantic palm several hundred meters long condensed in the air. It fell directly towards the shadowy man below. The aura of a peak ultimate Emperor Realm cultivator erupted without restraint. The shadowy man was finally afraid, especially when he saw the palm coming closer and closer. He knew that Chiu Cho really wanted to kill him, and he could not help but feel regret. If he had known that Chiu Cho was so crazy, he would not have provoked him. How dare you kill someone from the Baichuan Marquee Manor? You really don't know what's good for you. A furious roar came from afar. A ring-shaped sound wave blasted against the gigantic palm in the air, completely shattering Chiao Chow's full-powered attack. Even Chiao Chow could not help but take a few steps back, his expression uncertain. It's the enforcement elder. The enforcement elder of the manor has also come. Ha, you're dead meat. Chiao Chow and your group, you're all dead meat. The enforcement elder is a peak ultimate emperor realm cultivator. Once he comes, all of you will die. The shadowy man was overjoyed when his palm broke. He pointed his right hand at Chiao Chow's group, and his attitude became fearless and extremely arrogant. The sound of something breaking through the air rang out. An old man with a head full of silver hair and a ruddy complexion, dressed in a wide black robe, stepped through the air and arrived beside the shadowy man in an instant. Enforcement elder, you have to make a decision for me. These bastards openly looked down on the Baichuan Marquis Manor and even wanted to kill a lowly person. These people deserve to die. Also, these people are Zhuowen's accomplices. We can't let them go. The shadowy man eagerly came to the old man's side and pointed at Chiao Chow's group to complain. He even added fuel to the fire. The enforcement elder nodded, then looked directly at Chiao Chow and said, "You should be Chiao Chow from Broken Rock City, right? It's not easy for you to cultivate, so it's best that you don't do anything stupid. Hand over Gu Yu Tian, Gu Xian, and Hu Wuying, and I'll let you go." The shadowy man was stunned when he heard this. However, he didn't dare to contradict the enforcement elder, so he could only follow behind the old man. Gu Yu Tian and the other two immediately looked at Chiao Chow. They were extremely nervous. Chiao Chow had already done his duty by saving them. It was unlikely that he would completely offend the Baichuan Marquis Manor for them. The three of them were actually prepared for the consequences of being captured. However, Chiao Chow shook his head and said, "The three of them are Zhuowen's friends. Chiao Chow can't just ignore them. Don't even think about taking them away today." Hearing Chiao Chow's words, Ouyang Hanxian and Ouyang Yuntu smiled bitterly and shook their heads. In their opinion, it wasn't worth it to go to such lengths for Gu Yu Tian and the other two. If Zhuowen hadn't fallen, it wouldn't be a big deal to protect Gu Yu Tian and the other two for him. However, Zhuowen's whereabouts were unknown. Gu Yu Tian and the other two weren't worth Chiao Chow's sacrifice. However, Ouyang Yuntu and Ouyang Hanxian didn't say much. They just stood silently behind Chiao Chow. They knew Chiao Chow's character very well. He was a person who valued friendship and righteousness. Even if Zhuowen had fallen, Chiao Chow would still take care of those related to Zhuowen for the sake of friendship. Good. The black-robed old man said the word, "good," 3 times in a row. However, his voice became even colder, like ice in winter, causing everyone's hearts to tighten. "You're a man who values friendship and righteousness. However, people like you usually die the quickest, so you should be buried with these 3. As he spoke, the black-robed old man stomped his foot. His aura erupted like a volcano. The surrounding air flowed upwards like an inverted waterfall, stirring up thousands of strong waves. It made him look awe-inspiring and insufferably arrogant. A 5-wheel ultimate emperor realm cultivator. Chiao Chow's expression was extremely solemn. The old man in front of him was a genuine 5-wheel ultimate emperor realm cultivator. With Chiao Chow's strength, it would be difficult for him to deal with this person. "Count us in." At this moment, Ouyang Hanxian and Ouyang Yuntu both came to Chiao Chow's side and said in unison, "You too." Chiao Chow looked at the Ouyang father and son beside him with a trace of guilt and relief in his eyes. He knew that his maverick actions would bring no small amount of trouble to Broken Rock City, but these two still stood by his side. This moved him quite a bit. What's the use of numbers? They're still just ants to me. 5-wheel Vajra Claw, die for this old man. The black-robed old man snorted coldly and clawed at the air. Immediately, a golden light that was like a scorching sun gradually appeared behind him and turned into a 5-fingered golden claw that shook the heavens and the earth. Chiao Chow, Ouyang Hanxian, and Ouyang Yuntu were awe-inspiring and unafraid. They all used their best armor skills. In an instant, 3 powerful auras surged out and turned into 3 pillars of light that shot into the sky in an attempt to block the black-robed old man's 5-wheel Vajra Claw. You're just a mantis trying to stop a chariot. Break for me. The black-robed old man sneered. He suddenly pressed down with his claw, and his aura surged. The five-fingered golden claw smashed the three pillars of light like a hot knife through butter. Qiu Chou, Ouyang Hanxian, and Ouyang Hanxuan's attacks were broken. They all spat out a mouthful of blood and retreated. Their faces were as pale as snow and their eyes were filled with fear. They never thought that a five-wheel Ultimate Emperor Realm Cultivator would be so strong. The three of them had joined forces, but they were defeated in a single move. This old man has said that ants will always be ants. Don't blame this old man when you die and go to hell. This old man has already given you a chance. Unfortunately, you didn't cherish it. The black-robed old man shook his head. Under his control, the five-fingered golden claw in the air enveloped Qiu Chou and the other two. This move was enough to kill them. Boom! A beam of starlight like the Milky Way swept over from the distant horizon. It was like the sharpest blade and directly cut the powerful five-fingered golden claw into pieces. At the same time, the starlight followed the five-fingered golden claw's afterimage and swept toward the black-robed old man below. The black-robed old man was in an extremely sorry state. The black-robed old man's pupils shrank. He waved his sleeve and a powerful origin energy swept out, forming a thick golden barrier in front of him. Bang, bang, bang. The starlight was like an electric saw that cut at high speed. It continuously bombarded the golden barrier, causing it to shake violently and almost collapse. Only then did it completely block the power of the starlight. The Star Codex of the Jade Lady Astral Court? After blocking the power of the starlight, the black-robed old man's pupils shrank to the extreme. A trace of shock appeared in his eyes as he recognized the origin of the starlight. Elder Su, for the sake of me, Luo Xing, let them go. I believe that I, Luo Xing, still have the right to do so. A clear voice that was like the cry of a lark slowly reverberated in this world. Everyone's gazes converged and immediately saw the fairy-like Luo Xing on the high platform not far away. She slowly stood up, and her clear and cold eyes focused on the black-robed old man. Chapter 574. Su Tianliang's Conspiracy. I didn't expect Luo Xing Fairy to be here. I was rude just now. But you know my difficulties. Gu Yu Tian, Gu Xian, and Hu Wuying are wanted by the Crown Prince. I can't afford to offend them. The black-robed old man looked at Luo Xing with fear and said with a fake smile. Although Luo Xing's status was higher than his, she was not qualified to interfere in the affairs of Marquis House of Baichuan. Once she interfered, it would no longer be a personal matter, but a matter between two superpowers. This was why the black-robed old man was so fearless. He knew very well that Luo Xing's character was steady and steady. It was unlikely that she would force Marquis House of Baichuan for Gu Yu Tian and the other two ants. Sure enough, Luo Xing's face showed a trace of hesitation. She was the first genius of Jade Lady Astral Court. Her words and actions did not represent herself, but the entire Jade Lady Astral Court. Therefore, she had to weigh the pros and cons. Let them go. Suddenly, a clear and sharp voice resounded in this space. Qing Lian, who was originally standing blankly on the spot, had slowly turned around at this moment, and her beautiful eyes were icy cold and emotionless like 10,000-year-old ice as she stared fixedly at the black-robed old man. The black-robed old man was startled. He did not expect Qing Lian to speak to him like this. He naturally knew Qing Lian. She was also a genius of Jade Lady Astral Court. However, she was much weaker than Luo Xing. If Luo Xing had spoken to him like this, perhaps he would not have cared too much. However, Qing Lian was not qualified to speak to him like this. The black-robed old man snorted and said, "Miss Qing Lian, I have made it very clear that these three people are wanted by the Crown Prince. Do you want to offend Marquis House of Baichuan for these three ants? Since you don't want to let them go, I have my own way to make you let them go." With a cold snort, Luo Xing stomped her foot and a tyrannical aura surged out. 10,000 rainbows descended from the sky and circled around Luo Xing. The rainbows scattered and the sunlight shone, dazzling and dazzling. The 7 colors shone like dancing butterflies, causing Qin Lian to look like a fairy descending to the mortal world. Peak Ultimate Emperor Realm? The old man's expression changed slightly when he sensed the powerful presence that surged out from within Qin Lian. Although he knew that Qin Lian had obtained an ancient inheritance as well, Qin Lian was only at the mid-king realm of the second will after all. In his opinion, even if she had obtained an ancient inheritance, her strength wouldn't increase by much, so he didn't take Qin Lian too seriously. Miss Qin Lian, you have to think carefully. Do you really want to stop this old man? At this moment, the black-robed old man's tone had a hint of negotiation. Qin Lian was able to obtain an ancient inheritance. Her future was limitless. It was actually not worth offending such a genius. Let them go, or I'll beat you until you let them go. Qin Lian's jade-like hand reached out in the air. Countless wind-attributed energy condensed into a spiral-shaped wind sword in her palm. Her beautiful eyes were cold. The black-robed old man's face darkened, and he sneered, "Forgive me for not being able to fulfill your request." Qin Lian didn't say anything else. She tapped her foot lightly and instantly shot towards the black-robed old man with 10,000 streaks of light. The powerful wind sword in her hand slashed down from top to bottom. Instantly, countless hurricanes swept up within 100 miles. 5-wheel Vajra Claw. Seeing that Qin Lian had directly attacked, the black-robed old man didn't hold back either. He clawed at the air, and a 5-fingered golden claw that was hundreds of feet long like the rising sun tore through the air behind him and slammed down on Qin Lian. Whirlwind clears the clouds. Qin Lian raised her hand, and the wind sword in her palm spun like a windmill. Instantly, countless hurricanes in the surroundings condensed into tens of thousands of wind swords. They tore through the air and landed on the 5-fingered golden claw in the air. Boom, boom, boom. The attack of the tens of thousands of wind swords was extremely sharp. The densely packed wind swords slammed onto the 5-fingered golden claw and actually shattered the huge golden claw. After the wind swords shattered the golden claw, their momentum didn't decrease at all. They continued to envelop the black-robed old man below with unstoppable force. What? The black-robed old man's face twitched when he saw his 5-wheel Vajra claw broken. His face was filled with shock. Qin Lian was only a peak 4-wheel emperor, but she had actually broken through his full-powered attack. Damn it! Barrier of the 8 directions, block for me. The black-robed old man pressed his claws against the ground when he saw the wind swords descending. Immediately, 800-foot-tall stone barriers rose from the ground and surrounded the black-robed old man in layers. They were completely impenetrable. Bang! The tens of thousands of wind swords instantly slammed onto the barrier of the 8 directions. The black-robed old man was shocked to discover that the barrier of the 8 directions was actually shaking violently. Following which, cracks began to appear. Crack! A clear sound rang out as the barrier of the 8 directions collapsed inch by inch. The black-robed old man spat out a mouthful of blood and flew backwards. He smashed into the empty ground 100 meters away. Disciplinary Elder. The sinister-looking man and a dozen others stared in shock at the black-robed old man who had smashed onto the ground. They hurriedly rushed over and helped the old man up. Their gazes were fixed on Qin Lian, who was holding the wind sword in her hand. They were at a loss. Scram. Otherwise, I won't hold back next time. Qin Lian's cold voice slowly rang out as her beautiful eyes stared at the black-robed old man and the others. Let's go. The black-robed old man stood up in a sorry state. He gritted his teeth and had no choice but to leave with the sinister-looking man and the others. He had not expected Qin Lian to be so powerful. Even more so, he had not expected Qin Lian to actually attack directly. With Qin Lian around, the black-robed old man knew that it was impossible to take away Guyu Tian and the others today. Thank you, Qin Lian and Luo Xing, for saving our lives. At this moment, Qiu Chou and the others arrived in front of Qin Lian and Luo Xing with a face full of gratitude. Hurry up and leave the prefecture capital. Zhun killed the second prince of the House of Marquis of Baichuan in the Vitality Pagoda. It can be considered as forming a death feud with the House of Marquis of Baichuan. Now that Zhuowen's whereabouts are unknown, I'm afraid Su Tianyang will attack you. Therefore, The prefecture capital is a dangerous place for you. Luo Xing shook her head and sighed. When Qiu Qiu, Gu Tian and the others heard this, they all revealed a trace of a bitter smile. They did not expect that Zhuan would cause such a big disaster. However, they did not complain about Zhuan. They all knew Zhuan's character. As long as no one provoked him, Zhuan would not take the initiative to provoke others. The second prince of the house of Marquis of Baichuan, Su Tianliang, probably provoked Zhuan first and was killed. The fault was not on Zhuan. You'd better leave the prefecture capital secretly. Don't be discovered by the people of the house of Marquis of Baichuan. Otherwise, you will be in trouble again. Qin Lian kindly reminded. Thank you for your help. I Qiu Qiu will remember this kindness. I will definitely repay it in the future. Qiu Qiu cupped his hands and said seriously. There's no need for that. One also offended the house of Marquis of Baichuan because he saved me, so I am repaying him. Qin Lian shook her head and said. When Qiu Qiu and the others heard this, they all glanced at Qin Lian in surprise. However, they did not take it to heart. After cupping his hands, Qiu Qiu left with Gu Tian and the others and the people of Broken Rock City. Junior sister Qin Lian. You don't have to wait. It has already been 3 days. If Zhuan could come out, he would have already come out. Now that he has not come out, I'm afraid he is really doomed. Luo Xing suddenly came to Qin Lian's side and said softly. Hearing this, Qin Lian's delicate body trembled. She nodded slightly and a touch of determination suddenly appeared in her beautiful eyes. She said, Senior sister Luo Xing, let's go. I'm going to go back to the Jade Lady Star Court and go into seclusion. As she spoke, Qin Lian lifted her jade feet and slowly left the place. Looking at Qin Lian's back, Luo Xing shook her head helplessly. She raised her head slightly and focused her gaze on the Vitality Tower. She muttered to herself, Have you really fallen? In the Baichuan Marquis mansion, in a spacious and magnificent hall, Su Tianliang slowly leaned on the high seat in the center. He stared at a group of more than 10 people with a gloomy face and said, Those 3 ants from Rattan Armor City, you didn't catch them? Standing at the head of the table was the black-robed old man who was defeated by Qin Lian. At this moment, the black-robed old man's forehead was covered in sweat. He bowed and said, Eldest Crown Prince, please don't be angry. The original plan was going well. Unfortunately, Qiu Qiu and the others from Broken Rock City suddenly interfered. Qiu Qiu from Broken Rock City? It is said that this person is a peak 4-wheel Emperor Realm powerhouse. He is quite a famous powerhouse in Muqing County. However, with the Elder's help, there shouldn't be a problem, right? Su Tianliang's index finger tapped on the armrest and said indifferently. Qiu Qiu is naturally not a threat. However, Luo Xing and Qin Lian from Jade Lady Star Court also interfered. I am no match for them, so I had no choice. At this point, the black-robed old man stopped talking. Luo Xing and Qin Lian also interfered? No wonder even if you took action, you would return in defeat. Su Tianliang said with furrowed brows. Eldest Crown Prince, are we just going to let them go like this? The black-robed old man said nervously. Of course, we can't let them go so easily. Zhuan killed my second brother and caused me to lose the ancient inheritance. How can we just let this matter go like this? Since this bastard has already died in the Blood Devil legacy, then let everyone related to him compensate for his death. At this point, Su Tianliang revealed a cold smile and continued, Both Rattan Armor City and Broken Rock City have a deep relationship with Zhuan. You should prepare well and secretly destroy these 2 cities. Destroy the cities? Eldest Crown Prince, I'm afraid this matter is very serious. Rattan Armor City is not a big deal, but Broken Rock City is a super city. If we openly destroy Broken Rock City, I'm afraid the prestige of our house of Marquis Baichuan will be greatly affected. The black-robed old man's face changed slightly. Stupid. Did I say we would openly destroy the cities? Rattan Armor City is nothing to be afraid of. If we destroy it, then so be it. Naturally, we don't have to do it ourselves. You should know that Broken Rock City has a lot of enemies. As long as we push them a little, Broken Rock City will inevitably be attacked. I think there are many city lords of super cities who are interested in Broken Rock City. Su Tianliang's eyes narrowed, and the corners of his mouth revealed a trace of a cunning smile. That's a good idea, eldest crown prince. If we use a borrowed knife cleverly, we can indeed indirectly destroy Broken Rock City. The black-robed old man suddenly realized. Go and contact some of the super cities that have conflicts with Broken Rock City. Once everything is arranged, inform this king. This king will personally capture those who are related to Zhuo Wen and ruthlessly torture them, hee. Chapter 575. The bad news of the return. Outside the provincial capital, a group of more than 10 people hurriedly left the city gates. These people were dressed in long black robes with large hoods covering their faces. It was impossible to make out their true appearances. The group of people dressed in strange clothes only stopped when they were nearly 1,000 meters away from the provincial capital. The leader looked around and said in a low voice, "There is no one following us. I'm afraid that the people from the house of Marquis Baichuan didn't follow us out." As soon as this person finished speaking, the group of people around him heaved a sigh of relief. They took off their hoods and revealed their true appearances. It was Qiu Chou, Guyu Tian, and the others. It turned out that after receiving Qing Lian and Luo Xing's warning, they had deliberately disguised themselves and hurriedly left the provincial capital. They were afraid that the people from the house of Marquis Baichuan would cause trouble. Senior Qiu Chou, City Governor Ouyang, it's all thanks to your Broken Rock City. If it wasn't for you, the three of us wouldn't have been able to escape the provincial capital. Guyu Tian bowed and said respectfully, You don't have to be like this. You don't have to worry too much about Zhuan. I believe that guy won't die." Qiu Chou laughed and patted Guyu Tian's shoulder. Guyu Tian and the other two smiled bitterly. They naturally knew that Qiu Chou was comforting them. They looked at each other and shook their heads. You have to be careful of the people from the house of Marquis Baichuan. After all, your Vine Armor City is a low-level city. With the power of the house of Marquis Baichuan, destroying your Vine Armor City is just a matter of waving their hands. I think it's best that you transfer all the important people of Vine Armor City to our Broken Rock City? Qiu Chou said after thinking for a while. Won't that implicate your Broken Rock City? Guyu Tian's eyes brightened, but he immediately said with some hesitation. Don't worry. After all, our Broken Rock City is one of the top super cities in Muqing County. The house of Marquis Baichuan is indeed powerful, but they are not qualified to touch our Broken Rock City. If they really do, the house of Marquis Qin will not sit idly by. Qiu Chou shook his head and smiled. Thank you very much, Senior Qiu. I will go back now and move the important people of Vine Armor City to Broken Rock City. Guyu Tian and the other two were overjoyed. Let's part ways now and meet again at Broken Rock City. Qiu Chou nodded his head. Immediately, he led the group from Broken Rock City and soared into the sky. Father, let's go. We need to move the important people of Rotan Armor City as soon as possible. Otherwise, it will be too late if the people of Marquis Baichuan's residence find out. Gu Xian hurriedly reminded. Go! Guyu Tian nodded. Then, the three of them headed in another direction. Whoosh! Chapter 576. Breaking out of the tower, Guyu Tian sighed softly. He understood Zhuo Xiangding's feelings. He also didn't want Zhuowen to fall. After all, he was a genius with more potential than a super genius. His future was limitless. Let's put Zhuowen's matter aside for now. Right now, our first priority is to move our men to Broken Rock City. Otherwise, the house of Marquis Baichuan will not let us off the hook, Guyu Tian said seriously. Then we'll do as you say. I'll pack my men today and follow you to Broken Rock City tomorrow. Hu Shao cupped his fists and said seriously. Guyu Tian nodded and looked at Zhuo Xiangding. He said, Zhuo family's head, why don't you follow us to Broken Rock City? Otherwise, the house of Marquis Baichuan will find your Zhuo family sooner or later. Zhuo Xiangding nodded. He had also regained his composure and said calmly, Don't worry, Governor. I'll pack my men and follow you to Broken Rock City. Seeing Zhuo Xiangding nod, Gu Tian sighed and waved his hand. He said, "Go back and prepare yourselves. We'll leave first thing in the morning tomorrow." Soon, everyone in the main hall dispersed. Early in the morning, when the first ray of sunlight shone down from the sky, many people in Rattan Armor City were already busy. The governor's office, the Zhou family, and the Huban family, the three local powers, had all gathered their men and left Rattan Armor City. As for the citizens of Rattan Armor City, Gu Tian arranged for them to stay in the city. He also left behind a group of elite soldiers to maintain order in Rattan Armor City. Gu Tian only took the most important people with him. As for the citizens of Rattan Armor City, he believed that the house of Marquis Baichuan wouldn't do anything to these weak people. Therefore, he didn't make any special arrangements. The crisp sound of horse hooves gradually faded away along the winding path. Perhaps Gu Tian and the rest still did not know that going to Broken Rock City was basically walking right into a trap. They had already walked step by step into the big net that Su Tianliang had laid out and were only waiting for the final opportunity to catch them all in one fell swoop. Boom! Above the 9 heavens, tens of thousands of bolts of lightning shot out from the black dragon-like clouds, wreaking havoc. Like knotted ropes, they formed a thick lightning prison in the void. Rumble! Tens of thousands of terrifying lightning bolts rained down like a thunderstorm, instantly enveloping a slender figure below. However, the surprising thing was that this figure didn't dodge at all. It clenched its right hand into a fist, and then boundless golden light surged out explosively. It was like a small sun that was slowly being born, and it was dazzling and resplendent. The golden light flashed, and the thunder that filled the sky dissipated. The crisp sound of footsteps rang out, and a young man with messy black hair and fluttering clothes slowly walked out. His exposed skin flashed with a faint golden light, and he looked like a demon or a god, as if he was gilded in gold. Ultimate Emperor Realm. I've finally reached it. The black-haired young man's face was filled with excitement, and he couldn't help but roar at the sky. His voice was like rolling thunder. Not bad. The effects of the lotus bathing in flames are indeed powerful. Kid, you were only at the initial stage of the Ultimate Emperor Realm a few months ago, but under the effects of the lotus bathing in flames, you directly advanced to the Ultimate Emperor Realm. The ragged Lu Hantian slowly stood up. His hawk-like eyes stared straight at Chun, and a smile appeared at the corner of his mouth. Big brother Hantian, how long did it take me to cultivate? Zhuan calmed his excitement and asked Lu Hantian with a smile on his face. It's been about 2 months. The speed at which you broke through to the Ultimate Emperor Realm is quite fast. Originally, it was estimated that you would take 3 months, but you completed it 1 month ahead of time, Lu Hantian praised. 2 months? That means there's less than half a year left until the Battle of the 9 Counties. It seems that we should go out now, Zhuan said with a smile after thinking for a while. It is indeed time to go out. But kid, let me remind you of something. The soul of the blood demon is suppressed in the demon's suppressing green coffin on your back. If you haven't completely refined the soul of the blood demon, it's best that you don't open it. Otherwise, the cunning blood demon might take the opportunity to escape. Suddenly, Lu Hantian's gaze focused on the green coffin on Zhuowen's back. His tone became extremely serious and cautious. Zhuan was stunned for a moment, then nodded seriously. He knew that the other functions of the demon-suppressing green coffin couldn't be used in this way. However, the benefits were extremely obvious. After all, the demon-suppressing green coffin on his back would continuously refine the blood demon's power and transmit it into his body. Unknowingly, Zhuowen was in a state of cultivation all the time. Even if he didn't deliberately meditate, the power of the blood demon in the demon-suppressing green coffin would constantly increase his strength. At this rate, Zhuan guessed that before the Battle of the 9 Counties, he might be able to borrow the blood demon's power to break through to the Ultimate Emperor Realm or even stronger. After all, the blood demon's power was boundless and as vast as the sea. Let's go. Let's leave this place. Lu Hantian warned a few more times. With a wave of his sleeve, an incomparably valiant power wrapped around Zhuan. With a step, he directly entered the huge blood-colored vortex in the sky. Outside the Origin Chi Tower, the high platform in the center and the 4 large plazas that originally existed had long been demolished. At this moment, there was nothing left in the surroundings. The annual Origin Chi Tower battle was indeed an unparalleled event in the entire Muqin County. However, once the Origin Chi Tower battle ended, the Origin Chi Tower would only be a symbol of the county capital. There wouldn't be too many people around it for sightseeing. When the residents of the county capital passed by the Origin Chi Tower, most of them would occasionally glance at it. Although their eyes were filled with reverence and envy, the Origin Chi Tower that hadn't been opened was only a magnificent building to them. Only 2 months had passed since the end of the Origin Chi Tower battle. However, the residents of the county capital were still talking about the numerous geniuses who had stood out. Although 2 months had passed, the topics of discussion had become even more heated. Among them were naturally the 5 geniuses who had obtained the 5 ancient inheritances: Lve Tao, Luo Xing, Qing Lian, Qin Badian, and Ling Wushuang. It is said that the competition for the Origin Chi Tower battle this time was far more intense than the previous ones, especially the final 5 ancient inheritances. The results really exceeded everyone's expectations. A patrolling guard in armor was currently narrating the situation outside the Yuan Chi Tower in a lively manner. In front of the guard, there were quite a number of civilians who were listening attentively to the guard's narration. The guard's eloquence was not bad. He spoke vividly and with a cadence of ups and downs, causing the surrounding audience to exclaim from time to time. Evidently, they had all taken the place of the guard's story. Our Muqin counties publicly acknowledged 5 super geniuses. How come 2 of them didn't obtain the ancient inheritances, and instead, it was obtained by 2 unknown geniuses? Could it be that Su Tianliang of the 100 Rivers Marquis residence and Zhu Qi of the Imperial Sword sect were defeated by Ling Wushuang and Qing Lian? Suddenly, a tall and burly man among the crowd stood out and questioned. This was also the doubt in many people's hearts. Instantly, everyone's gaze converged on the guard. All of a sudden, he became the center of attention, which made the guard quite happy. Although he was only an insignificant and lowly guard, he was lucky enough to be assigned to maintain order in the Origin Chi Tower, so he saw and heard much more than the other people. Ling Wushuang is the #1 genius of Ling Tian City, and Qing Lian is a more outstanding disciple of Jade Maiden Star Court. These 2 people's strength is inferior to Su Tianliang and Zhu Qi, so naturally, they don't have the ability to challenge Su Tianliang and Zhu Qi. The guard shook his head and said, "Then how did they obtain the inheritances? Could it be that Su Tianliang and Zhu Qi were kind enough to give them away?" The burly man continued to ask with his arms crossed. Speaking of this, we have to mention one person. That person's name is Yun. It's said that he's only a genius from a low-level city, but he rose up in the Origin Chi Tower and became this year's Origin Chi Tower's biggest dark horse. According to what I know, Zhu Qi and Su Tianliang were eliminated by this Zhuoan at the same time. And this child is also magnanimous. He directly gave up the inheritances of Su Tianliang and Zhu Qi, but he stubbornly chose the terrifying blood demon inheritance. I'm afraid this child has already died. What a pity for such a prodigy. Speaking of this, the guard's face revealed a rare trace of emotion and regret. He was originally a lowly person, and a genius like Zhuan who rose up from nothing easily resonated with him. It was a pity that the heavens were jealous of geniuses. The surrounding crowd also fell silent. They had long heard of Zhuowen's name, and his various deeds in the Origin Chi Tower had long been spread throughout the county. However, what they didn't know was that Zhuowen had actually eliminated super geniuses like Su Tianliang and Zhu Qi at the same time. It was indeed terrifying. Boom, boom, boom. Suddenly, an extremely frightening tremor occurred in the entire county. It was as if an extremely terrifying earthquake had occurred in the county. At the same time, a huge pillar of blood shot out from the Origin Chi Tower. The originally clear blue sky was now dyed a strange blood-red color. Countless amounts of blood chi filled the air, dyeing the entire county blood-red. What's going on? Is there an abnormal movement in the Origin Chi Tower? The guards and a group of people not far from the Origin Chi Tower were all lying on the ground, trembling. Their eyes were filled with reverence as they stared at the towering Origin Chi Tower in front of them. The towering pillar of blood and the violent tremor immediately attracted the attention of countless forces in the county. In an instant, countless warriors rushed towards the Origin Chi Tower. They all wanted to see what was happening in the Origin Chi Tower. Two figures stepped out from the blood pillar. These two figures' appearances were extremely strange. One of them had unkempt hair and a dirty face. His clothes were ragged, and he looked like a down-and-out beggar. The other person was rather young. He had black hair and black clothes, and he carried a green coffin on his back. His body that was like a spear shaft emitted a fierce aura that made people unable to look directly at him. Motherfucker! The commotion is too big. The beggar-like man opened his mouth and cursed. It was incomparably vulgar. Big brother Hantian, your commotion is indeed too big. Let's quickly leave this place. Otherwise, we'll really be targeted by all the forces in the county. The black-haired youth helplessly spread out his hands. Let's go. Let's leave this place first. The beggar-like man waved his sleeve, and the two instantly disappeared without a trace. The guards that were originally lying on the ground secretly looked at the two people that disappeared in the sky. Especially when they saw the youth carrying the green coffin, they felt that the youth was somewhat familiar. Chapter 577. The 100-Year Brew Restaurant. The appearance of the blood pillar shook the entire county. A swarm of locust-like figures flitted towards the Origin Energy Tower in the center of the county. Swoosh, swoosh, swoosh. Dozens of figures with terrifying auras instantly arrived in the air above the Origin Energy Tower. They walked through the air like immortals. They're all Ultimate Emperor Realm experts. The nearest guards and the dozens of commoners beside them couldn't help but gulp when they saw the dozens of figures walking through the air. Only cultivators at the Ultimate Emperor Realm and above were capable of flying through the air. Now that so many legendary powerhouses had gathered here, the commoners were naturally filled with awe and curiosity. At the very front of these figures was a middle-aged man in blue robes. He had a solemn expression on his face as he stared at the enormous blood pillar in the air above the Origin Energy Tower. Brother Lu, what's going on? Why did something like this suddenly happen to the Origin Energy Tower? The master of the meteorite arrived in front of Lu Nantian, her beautiful eyes filled with confusion. At the same time, Marquis Baichuan Su Chong, Marquis Yongsheng Qinye, and the head of the ruling sword school, Xinyuan Li, all gathered in the air above the Origin Energy Tower with similar expressions of confusion. I'm not sure either. Lu Nantian shook his head. In truth, he was also extremely puzzled. After the battle for the Origin Energy Tower, the tower should have been completely closed. How could such a huge commotion have occurred? Let's ask the commoners below. They were nearby when the Origin Energy Tower changed. Let's see what they have to say. LV Nanshan's gaze quickly fell on the guard and the people behind him who were looking up at him. These commoners might have some clues. The few of them agreed one after another. Soon after, LV Nantian led the rest of the group and landed on the empty ground below. They slowly walked towards the somewhat bewildered and helpless guards. The guards and the crowd behind them were extremely nervous when they saw LV Nantian and the other experts walking towards them. Ultimate Emperor Realm experts were lofty existences to them, as unreachable as gods. However, these existences had actually taken the initiative to walk towards them, and in a group at that. How could the guards and the others not be nervous and excited? Can you tell us what happened in the Origin Energy Tower just now? Lu Nantian asked indifferently. The guard lowered his head slightly as his eyes flickered incessantly. However, his heart was filled with excitement. He did not expect that the #1 expert in Muqing County, Lu Nantian, would actually take the initiative to ask a lowly guard like him. The guard hurriedly cupped his hands and respectfully said, "This lowly one doesn't know the specifics," but not long after the blood pillar appeared, two figures appeared in the Origin Energy Tower. They immediately disappeared into the sky. Two figures? You said two people came out of the Origin Energy Tower? When the guard said this, LV Nantian and the magnates behind him were all stunned. The tower had been closed for almost 2 months, and there were still people coming out from it. Moreover, there were 2 of them. In that instant, everyone thought of Zhuan, who was still trapped in the Origin Energy Tower. Because Zhuan had stubbornly chosen to inherit the Blood Devil's inheritance and didn't leave the tower on time, everyone had subconsciously thought that Zhuan had died. But now, the guard's words had undoubtedly overturned their assumption that Zhuan had died. It was very likely that Zhuan was still alive. Can you describe the appearance of these 2 people in detail? Lu Nantian asked with bright eyes. He knew that if Zhuan hadn't died, it was very likely that he had obtained the Blood Devil's inheritance in the end. As for why he had only come out now, it was probably because he had encountered some obstacles in the inheritance and was delayed. I also didn't see very clearly. One of them was middle-aged, and his clothes were ragged like a beggar. The other was young, and the youth was carrying a large green coffin on his back. The guard honestly replied. His strength wasn't high, so his eyesight wasn't that sharp. He didn't see the appearance of the 2 people clearly. 2 people? The youth was carrying a bronze coffin? After hearing the guard's description, Lu Nantian and the others revealed a trace of doubt. Originally, they thought that the youth was most likely Zhuan, but they remembered that Zhuan wasn't carrying anything on his back, let alone something as strange as a bronze coffin. Could it be that it wasn't Zhuan? Then who could it be? Lu Nantian was somewhat bewildered. In the noisy street, 2 unique figures slowly walked among the crowd, attracting the attention of many people in the surroundings as they whispered to each other. Lun, could it be that the 2 of us are very strange? Why are there so many people pointing at us? Lu Hantian, who was wearing ragged clothes and looked like a beggar, casually asked as he looked around on the street. Zhuan shook his head and said, "They are pointing at you. I'm very normal, okay? Look at you, you're completely like a beggar. It's normal for them to point at you. You're not much better than me, right? Your clothes are also ragged, and you're carrying a coffin. Compared to you, I'm considered normal." Lu Hantian shook his finger and laughed. Zhuowen realized that he was actually speechless. Speaking of which, carrying a coffin on his back was indeed extremely strange, but Zhuowen would not easily take down the devil-suppressing green coffin. The longer he carried this thing, the more his cultivation would increase. The power of the blood demon within the coffin was constantly increasing his cultivation and strength. How could he let go of such benefits? I haven't come out for nearly 100 years. I didn't expect that the changes in the county capital weren't that great. Perhaps it was because he had been trapped in the blood demon's inheritance ground for too long, but Lu Hantian looked around on the street like a country bumpkin. This kind of behavior also attracted many disdainful and contemptuous gazes. Even the 100-year-old wine house is still here. Ha, I haven't had a good drink in a long time. Zhuan, accompany me for a good drink today to celebrate our successful escape. Lu Hantian seemed to have seen something interesting. He hurriedly pulled Zhuowen and stopped in front of an extremely luxurious restaurant. The restaurant in front of them was called the 100-year-old Wine House. It occupied an area of nearly 100 li, and the entire restaurant was shaped like a tower. It actually had a total of 100 floors, and every floor was filled with customers. It was crowded and bustling, and business was extremely hot. Brat, this 100-year-old wine house is a good place. The fine wine inside is extremely delicious. The wine fragrance is mellow, and the aftertaste is endless. If you drink a cup of it, you definitely won't be able to stop, hehe. Speaking of wine, Lu Hantian's smile suddenly became extremely wretched. Hey, you 2 poor beggars, this is not a place where you 2 can come. Hurry up and scram. When Lu Hantian was about to bring Zhuowen in, a burly man at the entrance of the 100-year-old wine house extended his right hand and blocked Lu Hantian's path. His eyes were wide open, and his gaze was filled with warning. Scram! Lu Hantian couldn't be bothered to pay attention to the burly man. With a light shout, a surge of energy condensed within the sound wave, causing the burly man to retreat repeatedly. With a muffled groan, he spat out a mouthful of blood. At this moment, the burly man's face was filled with fear. He could be considered a heavenly king stage expert, But this person had actually heavily injured him with a light shout. What kind of strength did this require? This person was definitely an expert above the ultimate emperor stage. He had never even heard of a technique like using sound waves to injure someone. In the 100-year-old wine house, there were also many people who had noticed the commotion between Lu Hantian and the burly man. Especially when they saw that Lu Hantian had actually injured the Heavenly King stage expert with a single shout, they all revealed expressions of shock. This person is so strong. Using sound waves to injure people, he must be at least an ultimate emperor stage expert. I really didn't expect such an unremarkable old beggar to be so strong. This old beggar is indeed strong. I wonder how strong the coffin-carrying youth beside him is? I'm afraid he won't be too weak. In the restaurant, many people stared at Lu Hantian and Juan with fear in their eyes. It was obvious that they had already treated the two of them as reclusive experts. My lords, this lowly one has eyes but failed to recognize Mount Tai. I hope that the two of you can forgive me. Please come in. The burly gatekeeper hurriedly stood up. How could he not know that the old beggar in ragged clothes in front of him was far from someone he could contend against? He was already filled with regret, secretly hating himself for judging a book by its cover. He stepped aside with a fawning smile on his face. Wouldn't it have been better if you had let us in earlier? You would have suffered less physical pain. Lu Hantian's performance was extremely domineering. He directly led Juan into the restaurant, not even sparing a glance at the burly man. Looking at the burly man who had his head lowered and was silent at the door, as well as Lu Hantian's matter-of-fact expression, Juan couldn't help but sigh inwardly. In this world, the strong were respected. As long as you had the strength, you could do whatever you wanted. Rules. What restrictions? To a true expert, they existed in name only. They couldn't even withstand a single blow. After entering the restaurant, many people stared at Juan and Lu Hantian with fear. The scene of Lu Hantian injuring the burly man with his sound wave had already made them guess that Lu Hantian was a reclusive expert. No one dared to provoke such a person. The 100-Year Brew restaurant has a total of 100 floors. Each floor is more luxurious than the last. Furthermore, the wine on each floor is more delicious than the last. The wine on the 100th floor is simply the finest wine. When the time comes, Big Brother will let you taste what is called a delicacy in the world. As he spoke, Lu Hantian led Juan to the top floor without stopping. The two people's strange appearance naturally attracted the strange gazes of the customers on the other floors. However, the two of them didn't care about the strange gazes around them. At the entrance of the 100th floor, two burly men who were like iron towers coldly stared at Juan and Lu Hantian. They said, "This is the province capital. Only people from the 5 superpowers can enter. The two of you don't look like people from any superpowers. I advise the two of you to leave this place." Although one of the burly men's gaze was cold, his tone was rather polite. Although Lu Hantian and Juan were dressed strangely, their auras were quite powerful. The two burly men didn't want to offend them too much. Moreover, the two burly men had heard of Lu Hantian injuring someone with his sound wave. Thus, their attitude wasn't that bad. They only planned to chase the two of them below the 100th floor. Chapter 578. Su Mea Thump. Thump, thump. The crisp sound of footsteps echoed in the restaurant as a group of 7 or 8 people walked up the stairs to the 100th floor. The person in the lead was a young woman. This woman was dressed in yellow silk. Her skin was snow white, and her figure was voluptuous. She could be considered a beauty with good looks. However, the coldness that was revealed between her brows destroyed this woman's overall beauty. To Zhuo Wen's surprise, all 8 of them were actually Ultimate Emperor Realm experts based on the auras they faintly emanated. The strongest amongst them was the woman in yellow, and she was actually a second-wheel Ultimate Emperor Realm expert at the initial Emperor Realm. As for the others, they were basically all at the Ultimate King Realm. However, there was one person who caught Zhuo Wen's attention. It was a young man with a cold expression who followed closely behind the woman in yellow. This person's aura was rather strange. Although he looked like an ultimate Emperor realm cultivator, Zhuowen's sharp senses told him that this young man's strength was not simple. He was probably hiding his true cultivation level. It's actually the third princess of the Marquis of Baichuan's residence, Su Mei. She doesn't like to drink. Why has she come to the 100-Year Brew restaurant today? The third princess probably isn't here to drink, right? Those who can enter the 100th floor of the 100-Year Brew are basically people from the 5 super forces. She's probably here to meet some important person? Many people on the 99th floor recognized the woman in yellow and her group. They were all whispering and guessing Su Mei's motive for entering the 100th floor. Marquis of Baichuan's residence? With Zhuowen's hearing, he naturally heard the discussions of many people around him. Especially when he heard the words Baichuan Marquis residence, his eyes could not help but narrow. The grudge between him and the Marquis of Baichuan's residence was not small. If Su Chang and Su Tianliang knew that Zhuowen had come out of the Origin Qi Tower alive, they would probably not be able to eat or sleep in peace. They might even attack him directly. I never thought that Princess Mei would come to our 100-Year Brew. It's truly an honor. As soon as the yellow-clothed woman arrived, the 2 burly men guarding the door had smiles plastered on their faces. They even had fawning expressions on their faces as they hurriedly made way for her to enter the staircase and respectfully made an inviting gesture. The yellow-clothed woman's cold and pretty face was filled with arrogance. She casually glanced at the sloppy Lu Hantian and Zhuowen, who was carrying a coffin. Her long, shapely eyebrows slightly wrinkled, and her beautiful eyes had a trace of undisguised disgust. Your 100-Year Brew is considered a major force in the prefecture capital. How could you allow these 2 sloppy fellows to enter the restaurant and even reach the 99th floor? Su Mei shook her head and spoke in a somewhat harsh tone, causing Zhuowen and Lu Hantian to frown. Princess Mei is right. Our 100-Year Brew will deal with this matter properly. Please enter. The 2 burly men smiled and hurriedly made an inviting gesture. However, they were not in a hurry to chase away Zhuowen and Lu Hantian. The 2 burly men knew that the 2 unremarkable people in front of them were not ordinary people. Naturally, they would not be too ruthless. Seeing that the 2 burly men did not immediately chase away Zhuowen and Lu Hantian, Su Mei's shapely eyebrows slightly wrinkled. A trace of discomfort flashed across her eyes. She could faintly feel that the young man with the coffin was looking at her with a slightly unfriendly gaze. Although this sort of feeling was somewhat baffling, it still caused her to feel uncomfortable. Thus, her words earlier were actually for the 2 burly men to drive away those 2 strange people. However, the 2 burly men did not do that. Instead, they pretended to be ignorant. I don't really want to see these 2 people. I believe that the 2 of you understand what I mean. I don't need my men to deal with such a small matter, right? Su Mei was not in a hurry to enter the staircase. Her gaze was also not on Zhuowen and Lu Hantian. Instead, she stared straight at the 2 burly men. In her opinion, Zhuowen and Lu Hantian did not have the qualifications for her to look at them in the eye. Although the young man with the coffin gave her an uncomfortable feeling, this was not the Marquis Baichuan's residence. She could not possibly turn the tables and make a move here. Naturally, this kind of thing could only be done by the people of the 100-Year Brew. Since Su Mei had already said this, the 2 burly men naturally did not play dumb. They could only brace themselves and look at Zhuowen and Lu Hantian and say, "The 2 of you. There are a few private rooms on the 99th floor. Why don't the 2 of you take a rest in one of the private rooms and order some dishes?" Although Lu Hantian's performance at the entrance of the restaurant was extremely valiant and powerful, Su Mei was still a direct descendant of the Marquis Baichuan's residence. This woman represented the Marquis Baichuan's residence, which was a huge superpower. In front of such a superpower, an individual's strength was insignificant. Therefore, they naturally did not want to offend Su Mei. When she heard that the 2 burly men were not chasing away Zhuowen and Lu Hantian, but were instead courteously offering them a private room, Su Mei's beautiful face finally darkened. Her tone became more serious as she said, "The 2 of you might not understand what I mean, right? Then I'll make it clear. Immediately chase these 2 people out of the 100-Year Brew." I don't want to eat in the same restaurant as such sloppy people. Zhuan and Lu Hantian had been watching coldly from the sidelines. Especially Zhuan, the way he looked at Su Mei was as if he was watching a monkey perform. The corner of his mouth was filled with a cold smile. If this woman knew the true identity of the unkempt beggar standing beside her, who knew how she would feel? Su Mei was incomparably arrogant and looked down on everyone. Zhuan had seen it before. Originally, he did not have a good impression of the Marquis Baichuan's residents, but now he had even sentenced them to death. Indeed, like father like son. Marquis Baichuan's character was not good, but his children were worse than him. The two burly men immediately felt awkward. At the same time, there was a trace of anger in their hearts. Their 100-year brew was open for business, and they were not servants of the Marquis Baichuan's residence. Allowing Su Mei order them around and openly chase away customers would definitely damage the reputation of their 100-year brew. At this moment, Su Mei seemed to have sensed something. Her arrogant eyes glanced at Zhuan and immediately saw the cold smile and disdain on the corner of Zhuowen's mouth. What are you laughing at? Who gave you the guts to laugh at me? I'll give you a chance now. Slap yourself 50 times and get out of the 100-year brew immediately. Otherwise, you'll have to bear the consequences. Su Mei coldly shouted at Zhuan. The cold smile on the corner of Zhuowen's mouth slowly froze. Zhuowen's face finally turned cold. Zhuan had not provoked this Su Mei from the start. Instead, this unruly and willful Su Mei had taken the initiative to find trouble with him. This caused his heart to be filled with killing intent. Slap yourself 50 times? Get out of the 100-year brew? With just you? Zhuowen said in a low voice. Yo, a trash like you dares to jump on top of my head? Who gave you the guts? I'll give you one more chance. I'll count to 3. If you don't get out of here by then, you'll have to stay here forever. Su Mei slowly pulled out the sword in her hand and sneered. At the same time, the 7 people behind Su Mei all pulled out their weapons. Extremely terrifying auras burst out from their bodies. All of them were at the ultimate emperor realm, causing cyclones to sweep out in all directions. Those two are in for it. They should have just left obediently. Now, I'm afraid they won't be able to leave even if they want to. The 2 brawny men helplessly shook their heads. They had already done their best just now. However, these 2 clearly did not appreciate it. Not only did they not leave, they had even angered Su Mei, who was also known as Little Chili Pepper. Facing the powerful auras of Su Mei and the others, Zhuan did not feel the slightest bit of discomfort. Instead, he was extremely calm as he slowly said, "From the start, the 2 of us did not provoke you, right? We didn't even say a single word. Furthermore, we have never met before. So why are you forcing us to get out of the 100-year brew today? You should at least give a reason." Reason? You really don't know the immensity of heaven and earth. Our princess doesn't like you and wants you to get out. Do you think she needs a reason? If she asks you to get out, then get out. If you don't, then you'll have to bear the consequences. A young man with a protruding mouth and ape-like cheeks who was standing in front of Su Mei immediately stepped forward and pointed his sword at Zhuan. His attitude was extremely arrogant. It was obvious that he wanted to put on a good show in front of Su Mei. However, before the young man with a protruding mouth and ape-like cheeks could finish speaking, he suddenly felt his neck tighten. Following that, he realized in horror that Zhuowen, who was originally 10 meters away from him, had unknowingly appeared in front of him. Furthermore, he did not know when his neck had been lifted up by Zhuowen's hand, as if he was carrying a little chick. He only heard the black-haired young man who was carrying a green coffin on his back say slowly, "Did I say you could speak?" At this moment, the young man with a protruding mouth and ape-like cheeks had bulging eyes that were filled with fear. He did not even see how Zhuowen had made his move. He was casually lifted up by Zhuowen and was unable to break free no matter how hard he tried. Su Mei and the rest were all shocked. They also did not see how Zhuowen had made his move. They only saw a blur in front of their eyes, and the young man with a protruding mouth and ape-like cheeks who was originally full of vigor was lifted off the ground by Zhuowen single-handedly. The young man struggled with all his might. How dare you? Why aren't you letting Su Gang go? You only have one chance now. Let Su Gang go immediately and break one of your arms. If you do that, we might still let you live. Although Su Mei was slightly shocked to see her own people being humiliated by Zhuoan right in front of her eyes, she was even more furious. No one had ever dared to disobey her in front of her. Ha! Break one of my arms? Let me live? Seeing that Su Mei was still putting on the airs of a princess, Zhuoan's killing intent erupted like a volcano. He looked at Su Mei with even more disgust. That's right. You have already committed a grave sin by offending this princess. However, if you let Su Gang go now, this princess can spare your life. You only need to break one of your arms. This is already the greatest kindness this princess can show you. Su Mei nodded her head with a matter-of-fact look on her face. Looks like the princess is indeed benevolent. He is already in my hands and you actually want me to let him go before breaking one of your arms. How benevolent. You're tuning in to the Passion Pages YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.